Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Cryptic Commanders, a podcast about, you guessed it, Commander. A lot of people's favorite Magic format, and definitely ours. We're here today to talk about the latest Commander 2014 set and all the exciting new cards there within.
So the way we're going to start this out is we're going to be doing it in Wooburg order. We're going to be going through these cards. We're going to be giving our ideas of how these cards are going to be fitting into this format, whether they're going to make it, whether they're going to get nixed, and some are likely going to pretty much become staples in the format. So we're going to give our input on that.
Yeah, and we're going to be trying to do our best to give at the end of each card, try to rank it 1 to 5, 1 being you should never ever conceivably put this in a deck ever unless you are clinically insane, and 5, try to find room for it in every single deck you own.
That is of that color, absolutely.
Yeah, even try to sneak it in there if it's not.
Just cheat. It's just that powerful, really.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to kick it off. We're going to start with white. So the first card we're looking at is Angel of Dire Hour. When it enters the battlefield, you can, if you cast it from your hand, you can exile all attacking creatures.
Yeah, and that's 5 white for a flash flyer with power 5 and toughness 4. And this card was probably one of the hardest ones for me looking at the set to determine if it was good or not.
Yeah, me too. Because I have a soft spot for Sunblast Angel, the angel that pretty much destroys all tapped creatures. I'm not really sold on the fact that it costs 7.
Yeah.
And with the rampant non-attack necessary combos that are going around in EDH, I'm not really confident that this card is going to be especially strong.
Yeah, but it's it does have a huge upside of effectively just getting rid of someone's board.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think that it definitely stops people from having a sort of kill switch on you. I mean, and it's good against someone tries to drop infinite tokens on you or whatever, then you just flash that in.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good way to.
Yeah, it's good at combating some of the really aggressive commanders like Earl, things that are hard to kill like Tajik and things like that. But it's one of those things where it's it's a really good effect on a pretty decent sized creature, but they want you to leave 7 mana up on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And what happens if no one really does a big attack on a round? You just kind of just left 7 mana open
for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, on the other hand, I do think it has a very strong showing in control decks.
Yeah.
Especially, here's looking at you, Oloro.
Yeah.
I think it's very strong for decks that don't have very many creatures. It's strong.
Yeah.
It definitely has the capacity to 2, 3, or even 4 for 1 your opponent.
Yeah.
And especially good against decks that like to run Insurrection.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just one of those cards that, like you said, Oloro or Grand Arbiter or any of the blue-white kind of control decks, which
absolutely, yeah,
are actually kind of relevant in Commander from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that it's just a reasonably sized beater afterwards is pretty good, and it gets through Avacyn, which is always a plus.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then it doesn't kill Prophet, and that's it's a board wipe that doesn't kill Prophet of Kruvix.
True.
And I know if I have Prophet of Kruvix out and my opponent has 5 white open, I'm not attacking them.
I'm pretty simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you giving this card? I say I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. I think that it definitely has a space in some decks.
Yeah, 3 out of 5.
But I would not. I would not call it a staple by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't think it's that powerful. I don't think it's strong enough for the mana that you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And the things you have to sacrifice in order to keep mana open to play it.
Yeah. There's board wipes. At the same mana cost, you have Mass Calcify.
Exactly.
So if you're in a mono white deck, it's just play that a lot of times, and I still don't even play Mass Calcify too often.
Really.
So it's just. In some decks, if you're playing Grand Arbiter and you're just trying to be defensive and just turtle down, I could see playing this.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the first card you include.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
All right, so our Angel of Dire Hour, both agreed that it's 3 out of 5.
Absolutely.
All right, and moving on to Angelic Field Marshal, 2 white for an angel with flying, just like the last one. 3/3 with Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Field Marshal gets +2/+2, and creatures you control have vigilance. So yeah, this is the one of the new mechanics.
Yeah, Lieutenant. Let me first start off by saying I'm a very big fan of this new mechanic that they're coming out. I like seeing stuff that synergizes with your commander without completely taking over the format, and I think Angelic's Field Marshal is an example of such card. Let me just say that Angelic Field Marshal I think is excellent. I think it is very good for the mana that you're paying for. It has evasion. It gets really big. And then it gives a global effect for all of your creatures. I mean, it's a very modest cost, and it's very strong in my opinion.
Yeah, like I have 8.5 tails, and I can imagine playing this on curve and have it just being super powerful. Like there is like a bit of a downside where it's kind of the opposite of Angel of the Dire Hour, where like you want to play it when you have a lot of creatures.
Yeah.
It's like you want to play it in a very creature dense deck. So it's not an automatic include with every deck, but if you want to be attacking in white, which is a lot of white decks.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
You probably wouldn't be too hard up to like find a spot for Angelic Field Marshal. But the biggest thing I thought with it was Angelic Skirmisher from Gatecrash.
Yeah.
The fact that it's 6 mana for a flying 4/4. Also an angel.
Yeah.
That gives you options at the start of combat.
Yeah. First strike vigilance or lifelink. Yeah.
Yeah. So in some ways it can be very similar, but it's also during each of your opponent's turns. So like you can give your creatures vigilance on your turn, and then
lifelink on your turn or first strike, so that you can have a really strong blocking
line.
Line.
It's just have a really good defensive thing. So it's like I feel like if it comes down to like that card and this card, I would go with Angelic Skirmisher.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of the 3 white cost on Angelic Skirmisher, and I don't really want to...
It has 2 white cost.
Is it 2 white?
Yeah, it's 2 white. Yeah, it's 4 white.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking of the...
Angel Relation?
Yeah. I'm thinking about that guy.
And that's on the point. Like, there's seems to be a good number of 4 mana angels that are pretty relevant. There's also...
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, like... And they tend to be 3/3s, because there's also... the angel from Zendikar block that landfall, you get a white bird. And
the Merry Angel. Yeah.
So if you're just kind of going with an angel theme or just want a bunch of cheap flyers, I feel like easy to include Angelic Field Marshal. But
absolutely, I mean 5 for 4. I mean that's
if you're just going with kind of like a mid-range sort of strategy with a lot of creatures, things like that.
Yeah,
I would go with the Angelic Skirmisher over it.
Yeah, because it'll definitely have a lot more utility late game than Angelic Field Marshal.
Yeah, and it's like, no matter what, you're getting a decent card. This a 3/3 for 4 flyer isn't like anything to write home about, but it's a solid creature.
Yeah.
And then just playing your commander, especially like cheap commander, which white has a lot of.
Yeah,
just make it a 5/5 and an anthem effect kind of to your creatures to come all vigilance.
In addition to the fact that it's not prohibitively expensive to run in like three color decks. Like I know I saw this and I thought to myself this would be a fantastic addition to Derevi because I run Derevi tokens. And he's a general that'll always stick around. Like he's very easy to play. You can do that at instant speed. So this guy will pretty much always be online. I mean,
another thing with like lieutenant abilities that we were talking about before was just dealing with the fact that if you have like a god as your commander, your god's going to be around a lot of times, even when it's not a creature. So you just have like your lieutenant active, which is definitely relevant. Like if you're playing Heliod and you make a bunch of tokens, and all of a sudden they just randomly have actually double vigilance because Heliod grants your creatures vigilance.
Yeah, so it does. Yeah.
So it doesn't really have much synergy there, but you still have Karamitra, Afara, things like that. So it's not the most relevant with this one, but it's just something to look out for when you're thinking about lieutenants and evaluating them.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so what do you rank this one as?
I give it a 4 out of 5. I don't think it's quite going to be a staple, but I definitely think that as a card on the whole, it's stronger than Angel of Dire Hour. I definitely think it's a lot more runnable, and I think it has a lot more utility in a various number of decks. Yeah, it
definitely has more like mass appeal than Angel Hour, but I'm still probably gonna give it a 3 out of 5 just because I still feel like I'm gonna play Angelic Skirmisher over it.
Yeah, okay.
Most of my decks, but I definitely think it's a very good card that deserves to see play.
All right, yeah, that's fair. All right. So the next card we got up, Benevolent Offering. Choose an opponent. You and that player each put 3 1/1 white spirit tokens into play with flying. Choose an opponent. You gain 2 life for each creature you control, and that player gains 2 life for each creature he or she controls.
Yeah, but that's 3 and a white, so it's a pretty easy cost in any white deck.
And it's an instant, which means it gives you a little bit more flexibility when it comes to when you want to play it. That having been said, I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I've never been a fan of cards that say you and an opponent get to do something, with the exception of course, Trade Secrets, which is now banned. I'm totally behind getting other players into the game and making the game a lot more interactive, and I think Benevolent Offering does that, but I don't think it does it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
I do think that there are decks that could put this to use hypothetically, but I don't think that what you're getting from this card is strong enough to offset the fact that your opponent is also getting something. 2 opponents potentially getting benefits from this.
Yeah, but the idea about like these cards, because this is also a cycle of the offerings, It's the fact that you get both things and you're dividing amongst your opponents.
Yeah.
Similar to Tempting Offer from last set.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the biggest fan of Tempting Offer just because I don't like giving my opponents choices. And this makes it so you're in control of everything.
Yeah.
And thing to make note of, it's choose an opponent, not target opponent.
Which means that,
it happens during resolution.
So you can decide at any point to just, like, you don't... So it doesn't give your opponent an opportunity to counter it or augment it in any way. Yeah, and you still get to make all the decisions, which is the important part.
Yeah. So the fact that you if something says change targets, there's no targets here, so that's safe. But that being said, giving yourself 3 tokens isn't the best. And for 4 mana, I'd rather do something else and gaining life. It's stapling 2 not very good effects together to make a somewhat decent card, but. I can't imagine any deck I have that would play it. And even, if you're being heavy on tokens, there's better ways of making tokens.
Absolutely.
It does give you tokens and gain you life. So, if you're very heavy in tokens, I could see wanting to play it. But it's not, something I'm excited to play.
Neither am I. So, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah, 2 out of 5. It's just, if you play this against me, I'm not going to laugh in your face, but
at the same time, I'm not going to quake in my boots.
Yeah,
that's exactly. For sure. All right, so let's check this out. Comeuppance.
Okay, so let's just stop to appreciate just the name of this card.
Yes.
If you don't know what this card does based on that, I feel like you need to just reevaluate what you're seeing the flavor in white. So it's 3 and a white for an instant. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to the source controller. So basically, it just sends the damage back in their face.
Yeah.
It's a big deflecting palm.
And I love it. Yes. I'll be perfectly honest, I love it. There are a lot of creatures that are 5 on the front, 5 in the back, same as the front, same as the back. So it has it definitely has the potential to, get a lot of value against attacking opponents for sure.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's crazy powerful, but it's something that I could see myself running in a pinch. Definitely for decks that are. I think it's pretty strong for decks that are a bit more aggressive and maybe worry about not having so much of a backline on the swing back.
Yeah, I think it stacks up pretty well to Angel of the Dire Hour and just how it interacts with combat. Yeah. Because the whole idea of Comeuppance and Angel of the Dire Hour is just you blow out combat.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting from this card, and it asks less of you. That being said, I'm still not super excited to play it just because I don't like playing really defensive cards that are dependent on my opponent attacking me with 3/6/6s, and let's blow them out. That being said, it's not terrible, and the fact that you can redirect damage to players if they're trying to burn you out with various things, and you can also effectively get rid of planeswalkers too and things like that.
I also for the player that every now and then you catch running things like Molten Disaster or Blasphemous Act even. Comeuppance.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Wait, let me make sure. You were... no, it's just you were Planeswalker. That's a shame.
Oh,
otherwise, it would be amazing. I mean, but it still blows out... it still blows out people who are trying to run
Earthquake.
And Earthquake, especially
Earthquake style effects that deal X damage to each creature and each player.
Yeah.
Because it prevents the damage to you and redirects it back at them. So as a result, they take 2 times X. Mm-hmm. So if they do Earthquake for 6, which is probably going to be a common number.
Yeah.
If you're playing Earthquake, at which point you could they take 12, and you're okay, and your creatures still die because it can't prevent that, which is kind of a downside because you can't save your creatures with it,
which is really, really unfortunate. Now that I'm thinking about it, the fact that it can't save creatures is really, really kind of a glaring weakness of that card.
Yeah.
And it's good if they're trying to alpha strike you for the win, but other than that,
it doesn't interact. It doesn't interact with creatures at all.
Not very well at all.
So yeah.
So I.
It's a sweet card. It's a sweet name, but I'm gonna give it I'm tempted to give it 1 just because I feel like the times is bad are going to be a lot more than the times is good. But I'm gonna give it 2.
Yeah, me too. I thought about giving it 3, but that's just I just don't think that spells that prevent damage to creatures are in this format just a lot more useful than spells that deal damage to players, and they're not really all that useful themselves. So 2 out of 5 won't come up. It's for sure.
2 out of 5. All right, and now we're moving on to Containment Priest. And let me just say, I'm pretty excited for this one. It is 1 and a white for a human cleric with flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile instead.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
First off, just look at the stats. You got a 2/2 for 2, which, it's a bear.
Yeah,
like, I always respect a bear, especially when a bear has flash. But just this ability, it's so strong.
It is exceptionally strong, especially because with things like Sepulchral Primordial running around. I mean, it's
Rise of the Dark Realms.
I mean, like anybody who they try to catch running things like Geth, Lord of the Vault, or even like Sheoldred. I mean,
not just Reanimator, because it also deals with Deadeye Navigator.
Yeah, it deals with Deadeye Navigator.
Birthing Pod.
It deals with Meogen, Life's Web. I mean,
Green Sun.
I mean, it deals with a lot of stuff. Yeah. It's a very modest cost, and your opponents. I mean, it'll definitely keep your opponents guessing. I think it's really strong.
Yeah, it's really strong, and just the fact that I know you mentioned Derevi earlier. You can't flash in Derevi with his ability.
No, you can't because it just gets exiled.
Yeah.
So I mean, it locks...
I mean, technically you could if you have a combo with it where like you exile, you put Derevi back at the command zone with intruder alarm.
Well, because the other problem is with if you do that with Derevi, then Derevi gets his triggers multiple times. So I mean, that might just play right into
But Containment Priest is still really strong. It's like similar to like True Name Nemesis and Scavenging News before that. This seems to be like one of the cards that's going to impact not just Commander but also Legacy.
Absolutely, yeah.
And while True Name Nemesis didn't really affect Commander that much, this one, with just the fact that I've heard a lot of people complain about Deadeye Navigator in ADH.
It just rocks Deadeye Navigator so bad. Like it just ruins Deadeye Navigator.
Yeah. And it also interacts favorably with Sharoom decks. You host Sharoom. Like it's really good hate, especially if you're, like I said, I play 8.5 tail, so it's just like this is the perfect card for me. Where it's making my opponents play an honest game. Yeah. And that's what I want them to do.
Mm-hmm. They got no free cast here.
Yeah.
All right.
However, that being said, Omniscience still casts it.
Yeah, Omniscience.
But Genwave.
Knocks Genwave right out the park. Absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this card. I'm gonna say I'm torn between 3 and 4.
I'm gonna go with 5.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm seeing like most white decks I have playing this card.
Interesting.
Like just imagine like even in Derevi where it's like you want to be casting stuff. If you're putting your opponent on the same like axis as you, but you're also be able to flash it in response to like them Genesis waving, and all of a sudden they've spent like 15 mana. And you and like just effectively countered their spell and gotten rid of those cards in their deck.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I'm prepared to give it a 5. I will give it a 4 though, because I do think it's very strong. It fits pretty easily into a lot of white decks. It's not a prohibitive cost at all, and it has the effect that affects a lot of decks. And it doesn't really hurt white too much at all, really. Yeah. So I mean, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I'm not prepared to give it a 5 out of 5. I don't think it's that strong, but I definitely think it's a 4 out of 5.
I think this is probably like one of, if not the strongest card in this set, and like if I don't see this all over the place, I will be very surprised.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so he's giving it 4 out of 5, and I'm giving it 5 out of 5. Moving on to Deploy to the Front. Welcome to Aperture Science.
Yeah, really.
5 white sorcery. Put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens on the battlefield, or X is the number of creatures on the battlefield.
All right, so I like this card. I used to run Nomad's Assembly, which was for those who remember Rise of the Eldrazi, was basically put a 1/1 tokens onto the battlefield equal to the number of creatures you control, and it rebounded, so it got cast again at the beginning of your next upkeep for free. I definitely think that Deploy to the Front is a fantastic replacement because it's not contingent. Like, it's better, but you don't have to worry so much about the board wipe because you spend 7 mana and you get all these creatures, but if they board wipe, I guess. But it's not so contingent on you having 3 creatures, then getting 6 creatures, and then the creatures come into play. They're slow. They can't haste. Like, I mean, you get all the creatures right there, and then they need to do something right now, or they're about to take a ton of damage next turn.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like about this card is it's 7 mana for a very veritable effect. Yeah. I'm just imagining times where like it's late game, things are grinding down, you need a threat. There's only like 2 creatures on the board. They're like 6/6s and you just need something. The fact that
the push to the front just does not.
Yeah, it
doesn't get it done. You're right.
Yeah, but then there's times where, like, I feel like you want to play this when you're going to be the guy that has the most creatures in play. You want to be playing this in the token deck. You want to be playing this, like, Gave.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and even then, like, I'm not sure what's the best thing, just because 7 mana for such just a variation. I'd rather just play increasing
devotion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
increasing devotion.
I mean, I think increasing devotion is better on the whole. And for the same reason why a lot of people probably won't run to play the front, I don't run Pegasus Storm because it just doesn't. It just wait.
The 10 mana thing.
Yeah, like
what is that called?
It's called Storm Herd.
Oh, Storm Herd.
Yeah, Storm Herd.
Yeah.
It's just 10. I mean, it'll give me 40 tokens, but it costs 10 mana.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend 10 mana for that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden your opponent drops Massacre Room and you're just dead.
And then you just lose. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that to play the front, I'm going to go ahead and give a 3 out of 5. That's what, I think that it deserves a 3 out of 5. It's powerful enough. I don't think it's going to take over any formats or anything like that, but I think it's strong enough in certain decks that it would warrant running.
Yeah. I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 on this one, just because I don't like 7 mana investments that have such a wide variety of how useful it's going to be. If I'm paying 7 mana, I want to get something I know is going to be real good. I want to get, like, Tooth and Nail. I want to I want to get really good cards. And this can be really good. And you're going to remember the times that you get, like, 25 tokens off of it and life feels good.
But more often than not, you think they're going to get, like, 7 or 8 tokens off of it for 8 mana. 7 mana, and that's just...
Yeah, and then it's just, like, I'd rather just play like a board wipe in that spot, because it's like I'd rather just have no one have creatures than get
7 creatures. Yeah.
All right, so 2 out of 5 for me and 3 out of 5 for you.
Fell the Mighty. Destroy all creatures with power greater than target creature's power for 4 and a white. It's a sorcery. It's very easy to play, so you can play it in 5 color decks, no problem.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I mean, it's cool.
It's weird as it uses the word target.
Yeah, which is why I don't like it.
Yeah,
honestly,
it's a board wipe that targets a creature, and it's cute, but it's
really adorable. But I would not be happy to have somebody counter my Wrath of God with Pepper Smoke.
Yeah.
Or I mean, like 1 mana Pepper Smoke, like just kill whatever. Just like you're gonna target the smallest creature on the board so that you can get rid of most things at least.
Yeah, a lot of times you're gonna be like, even if it's not Pepper Smoke, like you're gonna be targeting like your Oracle of Moldiah.
Yeah, and then not only do they stop the board wipe, but then you get 2 for 1, and then you don't have an Oracle, which is the worst thing ever. So I give this card 2 out of 5. Like it might be useful sometimes, but most of the time it's just not.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 for me too, and it's just because I'll pay 1 mana more and have Austere Command.
Really, absolutely. It has just way more flexibility. I absolutely agree.
All right, and next one is Hallowed Spirit Keeper, 1 white for a creature avatar with power 3, toughness 2, and vigilance. And when Hallowed Spirit Keeper dies, put X 1/1 white spirit tokens with flying in the battlefield, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard.
Okay, so I will say that it's okay. I definitely think that it has utility in cards and decks like maybe Carador.
Yeah, Carador or Vishkal.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially
Teza.
Absolutely. Sure.
Original Teza.
And the fantastic thing about this card is you can hit it with Sun Titan.
That
which is
makes
what I like the most about it. I honestly, if it costs 1 more, I don't think it would be that great. But the fact that it can hit Sun Titan, which really I think is a staple in EDH. I mean, for white decks, most white decks are going to be running Sun Titan. Yeah. Just because it's so strong, it just brings back anything you want.
Yeah. I personally love Sun Titan Burner's Card.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
There's nothing not to like about that.
I mean, really, absolutely. So this card, I don't think it's crazy powerful, but I definitely think that it has a spot. In a lot of white decks. I mean, even if you're not necessarily running tokens, it gives you a ton of bodies for a very modest investment, and it's pretty solid body for the money you're paying.
Think about it like this, it's just a 3/2 guy with vigilance that when it dies, you're going to be getting at least 1 token just because he's going to be in the graveyard. Yeah. So you're probably going to be getting at least 2, maybe 3 tokens. Yeah. In like the average deck, which isn't terrible, but in decks like Vishkal, Carador, or Teza, especially Teza, where Teza is just going to be sacrificing things all day. Yeah. You're probably going to get maybe upwards of 10 tokens even.
Yeah. I mean, I think this card is very strong. I think that it definitely you can throw it into a lot of decks. It's obviously not gonna be the right fit for every deck.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be that good in control-y type decks.
Yeah, where you're land creatures. But it's like a card that you can play in most decks and not feel absolutely terrible about it.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel suboptimal, but you're not gonna hate it. So I'm gonna go with 3 out of 5.
As will I. I think that's right. I think that's the right number. Like it's strong enough to warrant a play. I mean, I'd play it, but yeah.
All right.
So Jazal Goldmane.
Yeah, 2 white for a legendary cat warrior with first strike.
Yes.
Power 4, toughness 4.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 white. Attacking creatures you control get +X on head of turn, where X is the number of attacking creatures.
I can't even form words. This card is nuts. I mean, to be perfectly frank, this card is absolutely nuts. It's 4/4, 4/4. It has 2 abilities, one of which is a keyword, and it lets you Kamal. Like, what's not to like about it?
Well, yeah, Kamal, and what is that everyone's favorite changeling?
Oh, Chameleon Colossus.
No, not Chameleon Colossus, the white one.
The Mirror Entity. Mirror Entity. Yeah,
Mirror Entity. Where Mirror Entity makes all of your creatures by paying X become XXs into end of turn. So this is a very similar ability.
Yeah, but this is way better.
It depends because you can sink like 10 mana into that and make them all like creatures 10/10s. Like this is kind of dependent on what you're going to be. Like that is a bigger mana sink. But it's a similar kind of card where you're playing when you're going to attack with like a bunch of tokens.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to make them huge. And the fact that this seems like it could be better in a lot of ways, especially as you can make this your commander. He's also a Johnny's brother.
Which is also cool. Yeah. I'm absolutely a very, very, very big fan of the flavor. Yeah. So, I mean, I give this card, I'm going to go ahead and say that this card is a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, probably 4 out of 5 me just because... you know what deck you're going to be playing this in. It's going to be like the white aggressive decks. It's going to be doing work when you're attacking. Even if he's just attacking by himself, he just makes himself a 5/5 first strike, which isn't great, but it's.
But it could definitely be worse.
Yeah, and like just think of him because it's hard to evaluate like legendary creatures without imagining them as being their own commander.
Yeah,
and I could easily imagine having him head up a mono white token deck.
Absolutely, and then just running him side by side with things like Hero of Bladehold. I mean, that would be absolutely nuts. I mean, so I definitely think 4 out of 5 is totally where this card needs to be.
Yeah. All right, and now we get to maybe one of the most exciting cards in the set, Nahiri the Lithomancer. 3 white for Planeswalker Nahiri, starting with 3 loyalty and a whole lot of text. How about you read that?
Yeah. Okay. So the +2, you get a 1/1. And then you can put an equipment that's already on the battlefield and equip it to it. And then you can
let's just look at that first.
Okay, so that I think the ability is obviously strong. I don't think it is. I don't think it's groundbreaking. Yeah. I mean, it's good. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna warp the format or anything like that.
Yeah, but
it's playable.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the +2 right now. Is it?
Yeah, exactly.
The +2, just be able to equip something for free is really relevant. Just when it comes to Batterskull, just all of a sudden
things like Batterskulls and Argentum armor and
some with high equip cost. But also, I think maybe the best thing to do with this is just +2 equip Skull Clamp. Draw 2 cards.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. That is a very, very strong ability. So
I just looking at hearing half the time I just think the +2 is draw 2 cards.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Which is okay. So the ability is much better than I initially gave it credit for. I'll definitely give you that.
Right.
For sure.
Then you look at the -2 and it's you may put an equipment card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield.
Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely a fantastic ability.
Yeah.
I mean, even if
Stoneforge Mystic says what?
I mean, I'm trying to tell you. I mean, really. Even if you don't have something, incredibly expensive, it's very, very strong. And it definitely gives you a lot more room to play other things that turn that aren't necessarily equipment.
Yeah. And it's just, you don't ever have to minus it because we're getting to the ultimate soon. But the fact that you can -2 it to just get a Batterskull, get a Jitte, get a sword, get a Skull Clamp.
Anything you need at all. I mean...
It's card advantage if you get something in the graveyard, and it's just tempo advantage if you get something from hand.
Exactly, yeah. So this ability is very, very, very strong. And I think...
and versatile. The fact that it's hand or graveyard makes it really...
I mean, honestly, I think it's a bit stronger than the first ability, for sure.
Yeah, well, minuses tend to be, but evaluating the plus as just...
Yeah, I mean it's useful, absolutely, but reanimating equipment is just that's really strong.
All right, and then we get to -10. Put a colorless equipment artifact token named Stoneforged Blade on the battlefield. It has indestructible, and equipped creature gets +5/+5. It has double strike, and equip cost is 0.
I don't know. Like,
I actually, when I first saw this, I thought this was like one of the worst of the ultimates for any of the planeswalkers. Then I looked at it in terms of an actual game, and it's indestructible. So a lot of times it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's -10 means that unless she has taken damage when you ultimate her,
she'll still be online.
She'll still be online. Mm-hmm. So next turn you can just make a token and start doing things.
Swinging for 12. I'm in.
Yeah. But then it's also the fact that, just imagine you ultimate her when you have a random 2/2 in play that doesn't really, or a 2/1. Imagine you have even mindsets are just left over after a bunch of stuff.
Suddenly you have this monster.
Yeah, you just have a 7 power double striking flyer that's just gonna destroy them.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that it stays around. It's pretty hard to get rid of, and it requires them to deal with. It makes it worse in some ways because they can still answer it on an emblem, but it's still pretty good at closing out the game, especially in a white deck.
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, and the other thing I realized about this ability is, I don't know how often you're going to get that last ability, but it's also not legendary.
Yeah.
Which means if they somehow manage to not kill it in time, then you can have multiple of these floating around, which means that its effectiveness isn't reduced as the game goes on, which is really important.
Yeah, and one of the favorite things about this card is just we know the Lithomancer's name now.
Yeah,
we have a bunch of things explained from Zendikar, and I just find it really cool,
and it definitely gives a lot more flavor to cards like Stoneforge Mystic.
Which was before just hey look, here's this broken thing, and now it's oh, here's flavor behind it. It's tradition of people.
Yeah, who make stuff and that's
who pull really swords out of stone.
That do their Arthur thing, I guess. I mean, sure.
Well, I'm cooler than Arthur because it literally here's a rock. Now now I reaching into that magic hat instead of pulling out a bunny, I'm pulling out a great sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fan. So I mean, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give this card.
I'm just gonna look at these cards as I'm going to expect to see these for a long time.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're very powerful, not just in decks where they're the commander. Yeah. I'm probably going to give this entire cycle a 5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah, just because they're going to be very relevant.
Yeah,
they're very powerful. Yeah. They're definitely pushed.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, 505. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the end of white cards. Moving on to blue. First one we have is Aether Gale. 3 blue for a sorcery. Return 6 target non-land permanent to their owner's hand. So it's Hex with blue.
Yeah. You go.
Okay.
I don't.
It's one of those cards that seems like it's very powerful at first blush, just because bouncing 6 non-land permanents is really good. It's the fact that you can just look at each opponent, choose 2 of their threats, and just say, go back to your hand. I don't want to deal with you right now. But the downside to me is the fact that they can replay it, and it's not the most immediate bonus that you get.
No. I found 2 problems with this card that I don't really like. Okay, first off, this card is not instant speed.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to really be committed. And I mean, it's strong if you're trying to blow your opponent out and win that turn, or put them in a very compromising situation. But overall, that usually isn't the case. Yeah. And secondly, because in EDH there are so many abilities that are enter the battlefield effects.
Oh yeah.
Bouncing. I mean, there are a lot of permanents that you just don't want to bounce. And you can't bounce non-land permanent. You can't bounce lands, which is
Yeah.
I mean, I know they don't want upheaval syndrome to come back, which is totally fair.
Yeah. But the thing is, one of the big boogeymen in the format is Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah.
And it costs either 3 less or 2 more for an effect. So if you just play Cyclonic Rift straight up, it just bounce one thing, but you overload it for 7.
You bounce everything that isn't yours.
Yeah. So it's a lot of times it feels similar, but Cyclonic Rift just does it better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, if you're in a market for an effect similar to this, I would just play Cyclonic Rift, which to me reduces the stock of this card. Mm-hmm. So as long as Cyclonic Rift is around until if they decide to ban it, which I don't foresee them doing.
Really, I mean, I don't think the card's that oppressive.
Yeah, it's certainly a blowout, but it's
absolutely. But I don't think that. Yeah. But nobody goes into a game thinking like, man, if I don't stop him before they play Cyclonic Rift, I lose the game. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
Yeah, it's like the best overrun, and like you can lose a game after it, but I don't think it's as big a problem as some people make Cyclonic Rift out to be.
Absolutely, I agree.
And this card is like, I don't want to say strictly, but it's almost strictly worse than Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I am perfectly comfortable saying that it's strictly worse than Cyclonic Rift.
Well, it's just where you don't have 7 mana, but you want to bounce more than one thing.
Like
then in that case it's better than Cyclonic Rift.
It's still making you like tap out at sorcery speed in a blue deck.
Yeah, and the fact that Cyclonic Rift is really just like end of my last opponent's turn, bounce everything I don't control.
And now you have just a completely open field. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean honestly, I really feel like it's a 2 out of 5 because I think it's strictly worse than Evacuation, which is really big.
Yeah.
Like it was like it's before Aether Gale and it's still stronger in my opinion. It can't bounce non-creatures. But I think that bouncing everyone's creatures is better than bouncing 6 permanents at sorcery speed.
Yeah.
Usually.
I can just see times where, like, I could see playing this. Yeah. And the fact that, like, sometimes maybe you want to bounce your own enter the battlefield things. Yeah. Just to get value of it. The fact that it has 6 legal targets is a bit of a problem. But I'm still going to, for now, give it the benefit of the doubt. I could definitely see reevaluating it, but we get down to 2. Yeah. But for now, I'm going to go with 3. You're going to go with 2.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's move on to Breaching Leviathan. 7 blue for Leviathan. 9/9. All right. You take it away with a text box.
Yeah. All right. So, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, tap all non-blue creatures. They don't untap during their controller's next untap step.
They get frozen.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it because, I mean, let's pretend like nobody else at the table but that one player runs blue.
Yeah.
So you play it, you spend 9 mana, they all get tapped, but at end step, anybody pays any amount of mana and does anything to it at all, then suddenly they just sunk an entire turn into a 9/9 which doesn't have even Island Walk, curiously enough.
Yeah. Generally, big Leviathans have Island Walk.
Yeah.
I would like this a lot more for that Island Walk, which is weird to say.
I mean, honestly, I would too, because then if it sticks... Like, I mean, it has effective evasion if it sticks anyways, just because everything is tapped down except for new stuff, which is the problem. Which is the other problem, I guess. Yeah. But I give it a 2 out of 5.
Yeah. 2 out of 5 for me, too, just because it also specifies that you have to cast it from your hand. So it's just...
So you can't even reanimate it and do cool stuff. You have to...
You have to play honest magic.
You have to time walk yourself to play this card, and I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah. All right. All right, so 2 out of 5 for both of us.
Yeah. So
all right, moving on to Domineering Will. 3 in a blue for an instant. Target player gain control of up to 3 target non-attacking creatures, and end of turn. Untap those creatures. They block this turn if able.
Amazing. And I really mean amazing.
Really?
Absolutely. So not only does this give you the capacity to play a lot of board politics, which, as we both know, has a very, very, very strong effect on the game, late game, especially. This has the ability to... It doesn't give them haste, so it's not an act of treason that's absolutely insane. But it's pretty much free removal. Well, not free, but it's pretty strong removal. And
it is like...
If it's not removal, then it still gives you creatures that, like, it lets you steal abilities from your opponent.
Yeah. And, I mean, keep in mind that, like, you can also give it to your, like, if your opponents are attacking another opponent, you can give them to block for that
Exactly. And then that opponent is always going to use them to block because they're not their creatures. Why would they care?
Yeah. And that comes down to, like, some interesting questions where it's like, what situations on the board is this really good?
Yeah.
And it's just making Prophet of Krufix block is pretty good, getting rid of Oracle of Moldiah. So it's weird, like, almost blue removal in flavor of blue of, like, they have, like, the Siren abilities where they can make creatures attack and block and stuff like that. But that being said, I'm not sold on this as being an actual card for that that will play consistently, just because...
I think it has power in niche decks.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's really good a very small percent of the time, and a lot of times I just imagine looking at this card in my hand, just wishing it was like a rapid hybridization that could just kill one thing.
Exactly. Something that isn't attacking, because sometimes you'll definitely get into positions where the whole board's stalemate and nobody's going to attack. I mean, why?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'll rock a 2 out of 5 on that one.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
I
mean, I was really excited about it, but it doesn't. It's not as instantaneous. It's not as reliable as things like rapid hybridization.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah, we were talking about blue and just interacting with combat. Like, there's even like a Turnifrog, or like the new one, Polymorphous Jess, which makes all creatures target player controls 1/1s.
Yeah.
For 1 blue. So a lot of times, like, you could do a similar thing with that card where you just kill a bunch of attacking creatures. But in this case, this card is more for killing the blocking creatures. But
yeah.
It seems like the kind of thing that I would rather just play other cards.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that you're still going to get. I think most of the time you're going to get some mileage out of it because somebody's going to be attacking somebody. Yeah. But it's not. It seldom is going to be the blowout that it promises in its text.
It like 2 out of 5 for me is generally I could see thinking this card is good when it's played against me, but I will never put it in the deck.
Yeah, like it just. I don't think it's gonna. All right, so let's check this out. So Dulcet Sirens, 2 and a blue for a 1/3. You can pay a blue. And tap it. Target creature attacks target opponent this turn if able, and you can morph it by paying 1 blue. So, at first I wasn't sold on this card. I'm still not sold on it now, but there aren't really a lot of like lure effects that make it so that a creature has to attack a specific opponent, which is I think the crux of this card.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times in a game where I'm like, don't attack me with that guy. You attack him, and the fact that I have a card now
it says
that you have to. I'm not asking you, but the fact that for me, I find it a little bit frustrating because a lot of the times the creature I don't want attacking me has like Swiftfoot Boots or Greaves on it.
So
Dulcet Siren isn't the best card for that. And the fact that it's just target creature, it's like if your opponent's plan is to attack you with like 10 tokens, it's not going to be great. And the morph is a bit weird. It's a bit kind of random almost. I could see like, I surprised you. Deal with it.
But I mean, I don't feel like this card is going to be a card that when somebody plays a morph, they're going to be thinking, is it Dulcet Sirens?
It's always Willbender.
I mean, really. So I definitely think that it has some utility. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 out of 5 personally.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with 2 out of 5 just because like I'm not going to play this card.
Really? You don't think? I mean, I feel like I'd give it a shot. You don't even want to give it a shot. Really?
I don't want to give it. I can't imagine a deck I have that would want to give it a shot.
Okay. I mean,
I could see some decks like I actually don't know like what deck would really want this card. I was reaching for something, but I actually don't know. Like just thinking about a card that wants this level of defensive card that also kind of plays the group element and everything. It feels like it's just not my sort of like card, I guess.
I mean, it gets rid of profit. It gets rid of Oracle. I mean, it gets rid of all of those annoying like cards that don't attack but are exceptionally strong and really impact the board. I mean, I think that there's a place for this. I definitely think there's a place for this.
Okay, the fact that I could see that like you're making the little creatures attack too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not overpowered. I mean, obviously, but I mean,
that makes me wish that Dulcet Sirens had just 2 power. If it was a 2/3 instead of a 1/3.
Yeah.
Oh, but it has to tap for its ability anyway. So
I mean.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can't even block and tap. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned the fact that it can make it so, like Oracle dies in blue. Okay, I'll
like almost guaranteed. Like
I'll bump it up to a 3. Like
I
could see considering putting in a deck.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So let's check out Intellectual Offering. It's an instant for 4 and a blue. Choose an opponent. You and that player each draw 3 cards. Choose an opponent. Untap all non-land permanents you control and all non-land permanents that player controls.
It seems okay. This is a card I could see playing. Like this is a card that lets me draw 3 cards, and I could help someone else draw like by drawing 3 cards, or if someone's so far behind that them drawing 3 cards doesn't actually matter. And the fact that you also get to untap things, and like the fact that I like these cards because you get to divide things up. You can help one person out a lot, or you can give half of the effect to 2 different people.
And make it effectively null, just because the players aren't strong enough to use those abilities at the time,
just
whatever. Yeah.
Untap all non-land permanents that the Prophet of Cryptic player has.
Yeah. I mean, but that having been said, I still don't like these cards. Yeah. I'm still giving it a 2 out of 5 because I'm running blue. Why do I need to give my opponent a card draw when I can pay the exact same mana, get 3 cards at instant speed, and nobody gets anything but me? Yeah. I mean, the untapped, the non-land permanence thing is probably the only reason you would play this card, I would guess.
Well, honestly, like, I like combining the two just because I look at it almost as... I say, like, you'll always kill things out like that.
Yeah,
okay. You can, like, almost just build your own time walk effect, where, like, you untap all of your non-land things, you draw 3 cards, and then you get to do...
You get to do more stuff, yeah. I mean...
So, like, I think I'm going to give this actually... it's tough to evaluate this right now, but I'm probably going to give this... I'm actually going to give this a 4 out of 5.
Wow.
I'm actually surprised by that, too, but it's just...
Wow.
Okay, I have a Feldegriff deck.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So, and Feldegriff, like, my build is less group hug than a lot of decks, but still has some group hug elements. Mm-hmm. And me being able to draw 3 cards and maybe buy a friend by making them draw 3 cards, like, this cycle is political in nature.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to concede, like, some of the benefit, like, that I'm helping someone else, but it's for the fact that I'm also trying to just help, like, build an end game with Feldegriff of a critical mass of stuff.
Okay. So
I think it has a lot of roles, and I think it's actually going to go in Feldegriff and be really good in that deck. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 just because I'm excited to play with it.
I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 because I feel like these are all abilities. No, not I feel like these are all abilities that Blue already has at their disposal, and they don't need to make sacrifices like giving their opponents free advantage just because they're stapled together.
Yeah.
I don't think the card is strong enough to run in most Blue decks because there are a lot of Blue cards that can already do these abilities much more powerfully at instant speed, and you don't have to give your opponent.
Yeah. Well, it is instant speed. And one thing I will point out is the fact that it is doing it at a lower mana cost than you would get these 2 effects separately.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, absolutely.
And that's really true. But, like, just imagine a zombie. In a zombie deck.
I see.
So, like, just like that kind of turnabout style effect.
Okay.
And there's other things like that. Just being able
and even in cards, even in decks like Niv Mizzet, being able to draw 3 cards, hit something for 3, and then untap them, draw 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll give. All right.
3.
I'll bump it to 3.
Okay.
3 is playable. Okay.
I'm winning you over.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to. It's not going to 4.
I'll take 3. So you're going to 3. I'm giving it 3.
All right. So reform. You want to take it?
All right. Reform. 3 and a blue for a 0/1. So good start, right?
Right out the gates.
Yeah. And by the way, this is a worm with an O, not a U.
Yep. Not a worm. This is a worm.
Yeah. This is the little guy.
Yeah.
When Reform dies, put a 3/3 blue fish creature token on the battlefield with... When this creature dies, put a 6/6 blue whale creature token on the battlefield with... When this creature dies, put a 9/9 blue kraken creature token on the battlefield. So this one goes deep.
Yeah, so I love the flavor of this card.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yes, there is. And I had to keep reading this card because it was like Reformception. Like, there's an ability within an ability within an ability within an ability. And I think it's very interesting. Unfortunately, I don't think that the card is very strong. And I don't think it's very strong because with cards like Cyclonic Rift, Swords to Plowshare, stuff like that, or even like Merciless Eviction that are running around, I think that you're going to get a very, very limited return on this card before somebody does anything to it, like bounce it.
Yeah, that is definitely a problem, but I really think that Reform is good when you have ways of getting rid of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like, I'm not going to be playing in any given blue deck.
Not Hammered, but
like I'm not going to be playing like an Azami deck. I'm not going to be playing Feldegriff.
No.
I'm going to play this in like Riku, where one, I have ways of getting rid of it. Like, I'm just birthing pod this away.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden
you can make a copy of it. I mean, so you...
Yeah, and in Riku it's like extra value, and also just like a blue-black deck or like a blue-green deck, like blue and green and blue-black also both have a lot of ways of sacrificing your own creatures to get value.
Yeah.
And at that point, I like it just because you're rewarding yourself for doing things you want to do anyways. Mm-hmm. And I like cards that work well with pod.
Yeah, I mean...
And just like podding like your Ward Elves into a Reform and then podding the Reform into like a Prophet of Krufix. I like that line of play.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Like, I don't see myself playing it in any of my decks. But, I mean, I can see that it has some utility in certain decks.
Yeah, and plus it's just a really cool card.
It is really. I agree.
Just like imagine like Parallel Lives.
Yeah.
With just like you get the 0/1, then you get 2 3/3s, then you get 4 6/6s, then you get just
like 8 9. Like, I mean, I give it a 5 out of 5 for flavor. Yeah, absolutely,
it's really awesome. But I'm 3 out of 5.
I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 because I don't see myself playing this in any deck that I run now or any deck that I've ever run. I don't think I've ever seen a deck.
Not even like Derevi?
Especially not Derevi. And the reason why is because it's only because as a token deck, it only produces one token.
But don't you play the Parallel Lives in there?
I do play Parallel Lives.
And do you play Birthing Pod?
No, I don't play Birthing Pod.
Okay.
No, I don't play Birthing Pod. I need to get a copy, but the well hath run dry.
Okay.
So,
but
I mean,
even
with Birthing Pod, I just don't like Reform because anytime that I get it and I don't have a Birthing Pod, what do I do with it?
Yeah, just drawing it, like just having a 0/1
that can't really block much of anything. If it's in the air, then it can't block. I mean, it can block stuff, but it just can't. Yeah. It can block stuff in the air.
It discourages attacking in a really weird way.
Yeah.
But it's not super effective. But I'm gonna stay with 3 out of 5 just because, like, there's also like the blue-black deck that plays like random things like Altar of Dementia and things like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're just trying to cycle through value, and like blue-black deck, I can also play like just random cards. Like I'm just thinking of just coupling this black for all number of sacrifice effects.
Okay.
And just the fact that it gives you some kind of play with it. And I just think it's a fun card to play with. So I'm going to at least try it out. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5.
You know, I'm going to up it to 3 out of 5 just because it can dodge board wipes.
Okay.
Right? It can dodge most board wipes, so I'll give it a 3 out of 5. You'll get something out of it. It's like a mitotic slime, except I think better than...
It's better than that.
Well, I don't know.
I like it better.
It's tough.
Because the tokens get bigger, not smaller.
Yeah. But, okay, that's a fair argument. Okay.
That gets you more small tokens. This, like, just Skull Clamp the Reform. Draw 2 cards.
Good point. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, I knew I could get you with Skull Clamp.
Yeah. Get everybody with Skull Clamp.
All right. Moving on to another one of the legendary creatures. We've been waiting for this guy since Innistrad.
Yeah,
Stitcher Geralf. 3 blue for human wizard with power 3, toughness 4, and 2 in a blue. Tap. Each player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Exile up to 2 creature cards. Put in a graveyard this way. Put an XX blue zombie creature token on the battlefield, where X is the total power of cards exiled this way.
I think it's cool. First off, I'm super excited that Geralf finally gets a card. You hear a lot about him in the flavor for the Innistrad cards, but you don't really see a whole lot of them.
You see his messenger a lot, especially in Standard.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. So I am very, very happy to see Geralf, and I think that this ability is pretty strong. I don't think it's it's strong. I don't think it's amazing.
Yeah.
But it has the ability to kind of like preemptively neuter certain sort of graveyard reanimator decks.
Yeah.
It definitely could give Carador some trouble.
Yeah.
It could maybe give Braids though. Not Braids. I'm sorry. Chainer.
Yeah, Chainer.
What the hell I was talking about?
Okay. I like it just because one Phoenix. I've liked Phoenix decks.
Yeah.
In the fact that it works well in that. But also the fact that, say you're playing Mimeoplasm and you're playing this guy.
Okay. You don't.
Yeah, you can choose to exile the worst creatures.
And then you get the best creatures when you cast Mimeoplasm. Yeah, I like it in like that. I definitely think he has a spot in that deck for sure.
Yeah. This one, I don't think he's as good of this new cards we've heard of before that got new cards. I don't think he's as good as Ajani's brother up there.
Mm-mm.
So I'm gonna give him 3 out of 5, just because you're probably gonna run into him at a commander table.
Yeah, I give him a 3 out of 5 too. He's strong enough to run. He's not gonna take over the game, I don't think. But he gives you just enough support where people are gonna want to get rid of him. I think that he definitely has a slot in a lot of blue decks. Absolutely.
All right, and up next is Storm Surge Kraken, 3 blue for creature Kraken with hexproof, 5/5, and this is the blue lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Storm Surge Kraken gets +2/+2 and has whenever Storm Surge Kraken becomes blocked, draw 2 cards. Now this is interesting just because it gives you a bonus just for attacking and not hitting your opponent, which is the best coastal piracy ever. But the downside is that you don't always want to be attacking in a lot of blue decks. Certainly some blue decks, but the fact that it is kind of situational, but it just rewards you for just trying to get in there. And you're attacking with a 7/7, so they pretty much have to block. So it feels like a lot of times your opponent's going to be forced with, do I take 7 or do I let them draw 2 cards? And that, to me, is a decision you want them to have to make.
Also, I will shamelessly admit that I'm a very, very big fan of coastal piracy effects. I absolutely loved Biden of Nessa. I obviously love coastal piracy, Thieving Magpie, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when I see a 7/7 for 5 with hexproof, I think I want to run that. And when I think a 7/7 with hexproof that pretty much needs to be blocked.
Yeah.
Unless you want to take a ton of damage and you draw 2 cards, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's really strong.
It's like an odd choice. It's like because it's when it becomes block, you draw 2 cards. It's either you draw 2 cards or you deal 7 damage, and either way you're like, okay,
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's and even if it didn't get the +2/+2, it's still a 5/5/5 with hexproof.
Yeah, and at a 7/7, it like interacts favorably in combat with even the Titans.
Yep.
Which is just like 6/6 is generally like the most common big guy power toughness that you'll see in Commander. The fact that it trumps that when you have your commander out, and a lot of blue commanders don't want to get in combat, so this lets them fill the role of being in combat for your commander, which I really like. So I'm not gonna put in all my blue decks because I feel like I have better things to do, but like I see there's a lot of blue decks that could play this. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5.
I'm gonna. I have to agree with 3 out of 5. I'm thinking about 4, but I don't think it's quite.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be as ubiquitous as I'm hoping.
Yeah.
It will be.
It has nothing the turn it enters play.
Yes, which is it has hexproof, so that's mitigated.
Yeah.
So they're not just gonna like hit it with like a go for the throat or anything like that.
Yeah, just randomly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But like it still dies. I don't want to say it dies to removal, but it's in Commander when like 4 people get a turn. There's a lot of opportunity for interaction.
Absolutely.
And the fact that there's times where this card will do nothing, but if you attack once with this card, you don't really care. Like, if you get it off once, you're pretty much set.
Yeah.
All right, and so we're gonna go with 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
All right, and moving on to the blue Planeswalker. He was the first one. Spoiled Teferi, Temporal Archmage.
Yes.
4 blue for Planeswalker Teferi. 5 loyalty, and let's start off by looking at his +1.
Okay, so his +1, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. This is the ability that I think Jace should have had, the new Jace. He was so close to having it, and then they just didn't give it to him, which I'm okay with now that they actually put it on a good Planeswalker.
Yeah.
But I really think obviously, I don't know what else we can say about this. The ability is really good.
Yeah, the ability is really good.
It's really good.
I kind of wish they put the other card in the graveyard, kind of like Jace. Just because that way you get like, oh, I draw a card, and there's now things in my graveyard I can use. But the fact that you just get to select from 2 cards, and you just get the best one, it's really good. And like, I play Staff of Nin.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, this is better than Staff of Nin.
Yeah, it's really, so absolutely fantastic. Really good at first ability.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And then -1, on tap up to 4 target permanents. For -1.
Is that a question?
It's
is that really? Is it? Am I supposed to have an opinion other than it's amazing?
It's great.
Like what the what?
Yeah.
Wizards.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Even at the 6 cost, this ability -1. Yeah. That should have been a -3. To be perfectly honest, that is really wow.
Yeah, but the fact that it's -1, like all of these Planeswalkers are pushed, and Teferi is just wow.
He's the shove off the cliff. My goodness.
Yeah, he is. The fact that you untap 4 permanents means that if you want to just play him and then -1 him, he effectively costs 2 mana.
Yeah, he costs 2 mana, and you can play another creature. You can play a pretty strong bounce spell, or a couple of them if you want to. You have a lot of options when you play him.
You can -1 and play Jace Architect of Thought.
Really, so you have a lot of options.
Yeah, and it's not just lands. You can untap your Gilded Lotus. You can untap your Birthing Pod. You can untap all manner of things. Like, you can just untap 4 blockers.
Yeah, it's really, really, really strong. Yeah. I can't overstate how good that ability is. It's, and especially in a blue deck.
Yeah, of course, it's all leading up to, I would rather +1 him just because of his ultimate. -10, you get an emblem with, you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn anytime you can cast an instant.
So, just so we're clear, this means that every Planeswalker you have has multiple instances of activating this ability for each player at the table, including you.
Yeah.
So
it's you can use a Planeswalker's ability anytime during any player's turn. So like once per turn, you can tick up or tick down your Planeswalker on everyone's turn.
Yeah, and it doesn't ever go away, which means that once that hits, you're the sky's the limit. You're at that point you're drawing up to 4 cards a turn.
Yeah.
It's really, 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 really strong.
Yeah. Of course, Teferi is a bit odd because he only has +1s and -1s, and this is -10, so it takes you a while to get there.
Yeah.
And the fact that if you -10 him when he's at 10 loyalty, you need to have other planeswalkers to make this good.
Yeah.
Makes it somewhat worse. Unless you're playing as your commander.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, if you're running Teferi as your commander, then you -10, he goes away, and then you play him again, and then you untap 4 permanents, and then, I mean...
Yeah, then you just go to town. Like, just imagine just the fact that, just say on your turn, you +1 him, draw a card, and then on your opponent's turn, you're just like, in response to you casting spells, -4 on tap 4 permanents. And kind of spell.
Yeah, I mean, like I love the flavor. Like they gave Teferi these time powers without slapping a time walk on them, which I think would have been a very lazy way out.
Yeah,
I think they did a fantastic job of really getting his flavor as a temporal mage without making him like insanely crazy OP. I mean, I think he's very strong.
Yeah, but he's also very balanced, and that's what we like about him. And the fact that he doesn't have like the silly Rel Zarek ultimate where you flip coins or extra.
Yeah, I mean, come on now, really like I understand like being enigmatic and stuff like that, but come on now.
Yeah, and he seems flavor wise very similar to the original Teferi card with the ability to like cast creatures that flash. Your planeswalkers kind of have flash.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. So
yeah, 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5, absolutely.
It's not even.
I mean, it's part of the cycle, but I mean that card is the 5 out of 5 out of the 5 out of 5. It's amazing.
Actually, I think coming up like the red one is better, but that's just
really okay. All right, we'll see.
All right. Moving on to Well of Ideas, 5 and a blue for an enchantment. When Well of Ideas enters play, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of each other player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Beginning of your draw step, draw 2 additional cards.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. I think that this card is very strong. Now, I know I said earlier I'm not really a big fan of cards that give my opponents advantages, but I hardly think that this card gives my opponent any sort of advantage compared to what I'm getting from Well of Ideas. I mean, just off the bat, paying 6 for 2 cards isn't that great.
Yeah.
But
it more than replaces itself.
It absolutely. I mean, it replaces itself immediately, then gives you something for your troubles, then gives you 2 more things for your troubles. Yeah. I mean, it's really, really, really strong. I think that it's actually, I think it has a lot more utility than, that 6-costed enchantment that
Mind Unbound.
Yeah, I think it's better than Mind Unbound because Mind Unbound.
It's slower.
Mind Unbound is very slow, and this, I mean, it doesn't get quite up to the speed that Mind Unbound does. But
it's more consistent with what
it's very consistent, and it won't. I mean, when you're drawing 3 cards a turn, you won't even miss it.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like at a certain point, Mind Unbound gets bad because you get in danger of like, oh, I can't play all these spells. I'm just gonna deck myself.
Exactly, and then after a certain point, I mean, at that point, you really should be winning.
Yeah,
because
you should probably win that game.
But it's like you don't even have to worry about that with Well of Ideas. You just play it, and then things just magically come together.
Yeah, but there's the letting your opponents draw cards is still a bit of a downside, but you are still getting an advantage.
And an overwhelming advantage. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so yeah, I'm actually gonna have to try this out as instead of Mind Unbound before I decide which one's if this is just better. But I can see times where you would rather have this card than
absolutely,
especially and I know I hate to say this, it's kind of a dirty word, Nekusar.
Yeah, I guess.
Nekusar is that one kid class no one really likes.
Yeah.
It's like if you're playing Nekusar, congratulations, you got a very nice new toy.
I mean, really, absolutely. And it's not double costed.
And you're not invited to my party.
Yeah, never. You're just going to be by yourself. So
we're joking. If you're playing Nekusar, we don't hate you. We think you should really reconsider your life.
We just don't think you're as good as other people. That's all it is. It's nothing personal.
All right. So what do you think about this?
4 out of 5.
I'm going to go 4 out of 5. Like, 4 out of 5. This is definitely going to see play.
Absolutely. I mean, even if it doesn't really pan out, it still has a lot of places in niche decks and stuff like that, Nekusar. So
Nekusar and also Feldergrif decks.
Yeah,
it's just like if you're going for any amount of group hug, it's good, and even if you're not going for group hug, it still has a lot of upside.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Black, Demon of Wailing Agonies. 3 black for a 4/4 flyer with Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Demon of Wailing Agonies gets +2/+2, and whenever Demon of Wailing Agonies deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature.
All right. I'm not really super impressed by this. I'll be honest with you.
Me neither.
It feels like Steel Hellkite, which I'm not crazy impressed with either, but it's still strong, and I understand that.
Well, yeah, Steel Hellkite is just the fact that you can play in any deck. It's has a couple of relevant abilities.
Yeah.
And the fact that if it deals combat damage, you get to pick what dies.
Yeah. I mean, in any permanent, it's not just a creature. You can't even choose the creature.
This seems a lot more like the Abyss style effects, where
Yeah.
like you get each like a sort of upkeep, each player that player sacrifice creature.
Yeah.
Whereas this is it has to deal combat damage, or they block with a creature, probably chumping.
So I mean, either way,
either way,
more
you're
often
blocking
than not,
of a creature.
yeah, but I mean, more often than not, you won't get rid of something that you actually need to get rid of.
Yeah.
Because they'll know not to sacrifice the
Yeah.
kind of Revenant or whatever it is they have on deck that's like absolutely ruining your board.
Yeah.
So I think the body is good. I mean, 6/6 for 5. I mean, flyer. I mean, that's good.
Yeah, it's still a good card, and the fact that you're still making them sacrifice creatures.
Yeah.
You're getting card advantage off of it. It's not super exciting to me, but then again, I'm not big on black generally.
Yeah, I mean, I run Erebos, and I also run Sig River Cutthroat. And I think that I would run this card in Sig River Cutthroat.
Yeah.
It's strong in the air.
Oh,
like,
yeah, I can definitely see
and
that.
it's removal every now and then, but I wouldn't call it a staple by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
No.
I would definitely go with a 3 out of 5 for this guy.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Yeah, just because he's powerful in the right circumstances, but I don't like cards that do nothing when like they have to attack to do anything.
Yeah,
And just the fact that, I mean, aside from like Super Valley with like the Titans, but they still have the ETB effect, so they're still doing stuff.
Yeah.
But this card just doesn't do enough for me, because I'd rather just play like because in the 5-drop slot I'd rather just play like Dictative Erebos.
I mean, yeah.
Just, if you want to make your opponents sacrifice creatures, do that. But if you want to pressure your opponents and maybe make them sacrifice creatures,
Yeah.
this is the card for you.
So I think that the card sum up, has utility, not overpowering, but it could definitely see some play.
All right, moving on. Flesh Carver.
All right.
2 and a black for a human wizard with Intimidate and 2/2 end.
So you pay 1 in a black, you sacrifice another creature, and you get 2 counters, 2+1/+1 counters in the Flesh Carver. When it dies, you get an XX Black Horror creature token onto the battlefield, where X is Flesh Carver's power. Now, I think that this card is good because it has evasion, so if you make it big somehow, or not somehow, if you make it big, then you can be hitting your opponent with evasion damage, and it gets pretty big after a while. Secondly, it gives you a sack outlet in black, which, as we all know, is really, really strong.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that in Gave, it's just like, oh, I'm trading a 1/1 Saproline for 2 1/1 counters. I wonder what I could do with those.
Yeah.
Make 2 more Saprolines.
I mean, really, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and a good thing to note is that X is its power, not number of 1/1 counters on it. So just straight up, when this dies, you get a 2/2.
Yeah, so I mean, it replaces itself just about guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's like you can play this in Airboys, you can play this in Balthor, you can play this in Gave. I like it.
You can play it in Jared too. I mean,
Jared.
Yeah. So if you play it in Jared, I mean,
Yeah.
the sky's the limit. I mean,
Yeah.
the only problem I think with this card is like I wish it said X +1/+1 counters instead of 2+1/+1 counters.
So like you get.
So you can. So I mean, this way you can actually like get a lot more mileage out of your bigger creatures. Because I mean, nobody wants to sacrifice a 7/7 for 2+1/+1 counters.
Yeah, but then it's like you have like Vishkal and stuff for that.
Yeah.
This guy is trading like this guy's really good for trading like all of like the 1/1 tokens you get. Like,
Yeah.
This guy turns your goat token into 2 power.
Yeah. Like I feel like I could run it in something like maybe for Indrixar Master Reader, or I could even see this in like old school Tesa. Like this definitely has I think this definitely has some potential.
Yeah. So I think this card like has a lot of play. I feel like this could probably see a lot of play. So I'm actually gonna give this 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. I'm skeptical. It obviously has potential.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. I just think in the decks that it's gonna be good. It's gonna be very good.
Yeah, I feel like for decks that just need a sack outlet, that there are better sack outlets.
Yeah.
So,
Paying me for Sacklet is definitely bad.
Yeah.
But like it's just one of those cards that I don't even play black very much in Age, but I still think that just be able to replace itself when it dies.
Yeah.
Be able to give it a sack outlet. Just I think it does enough things that a lot of black decks could put it in there and not really regret it.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, I have to give it a 3 because I don't think it's.
Yeah, and 3 is probably correct.
Yeah.
I just want to I want to play against this card more and see how it
Yeah,
feels.
me too, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just imagining just people chump blocking with tokens and sacking them to him. Of course, leaving mana up is a problem, but
Yeah, I mean, if you spend the entire game doing that, then you're falling behind
Yeah.
because you're not playing anything.
yeah. All right.
All right, so Ghoul Caller Gissa, 3 and 2 black for a 3/4 human wizard, legendary creature. You pay a black, tap it, and sacrifice another creature. You get X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrifice creature's power.
So yeah, also from Innistrad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm less excited about Gissa, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Not as excited about Gissa as I was about Stitcher Giraffe, but still relatively excited. So
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, she didn't really big reference on the names of any cards, but
No.
she was still hanging around doing her thing.
Yeah, doing her zombie thing.
Yeah. I kind of like it just because it gives you like it turns like a like you activate it once, you turn like a 1/1 into
a 2/2
into a 2/2, and then you can sacrifice the 2/2 to get 2/2s, and it's like lets you get value off of just having very little.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it's very slow, and it wants you to sacrifice big creatures. And
like, why are you sacrificing big creatures?
Yeah, I guess if you're in black, you can reanimate it.
Yeah,
and you can do it instant speed, so like in response to removal and stuff. But it's still, the tap symbol.
So
I'd rather play like 4 and not have the tap.
So here's the thing. So I think it's amazing because black there are a lot of sort of like Butcher of Malakir effects. A lot of like Grave Pact effects, sacrifice a creature, everybody sacrifice a creature. In addition to the fact that you have cards like Fleshbag Marauder, when it comes in play, sack a creature, you play that, you sacrifice it, you get 3 2/2s, and you sacrifice one of the 2/2s.
Okay.
So I mean, I definitely think it has the potential to net a lot of value. I think it's very good.
Oh, yeah. Analyzing it as like building around Gulklargis as a commander, I really like her. Like most legend creatures from that perspective are going to be like 4s or 5s.
Yeah.
And looking at it from that perspective, like I could definitely see Gulklargis as being a very fun, interesting commander deck that's very, very black and very just. It's doing all things black once. It's like going to be reanimating creatures. So it's going to be making
like a bunch
zombies.
Of zombies.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be good. And but like I also think like comparing that to with how it's going to be in a deck, it's still going to be pretty good just because it's going to be sacrificing like things out like. It seems like especially from what I'm seeing from black and just this. Black is getting a lot of new toys for just sacrifice and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm cool with that. I'm really cool with that. So I mean, honestly, I honestly think that I think I'm going to go ahead and give this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 me too. It's not going to be like one of the big new commanders.
No, I think it has the potential to be, but I don't think it's going to be one of those right off top.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the black offering, Infernal Offering. 4 and a black for a sorcery. Choose an opponent. You and that opponent each sacrifice a creature. Each player sacrifices a creature. That way, draws 2 cards. Then choose an opponent. Return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then that player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield.
I hate it.
Hate it?
I hate it. And here's why I hate it. I think that returning a creature card from the battlefield is probably one of the most powerful effects in EDH. Like, I definitely think that it's one of the most powerful effects. And giving any opponent that type of power is just that seems like a really big no-no in my book.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
It's definitely risky, but it's one of those things where like you can position it to like where you have an opponent with nothing really good in the graveyard or like nothing in the graveyard if you have like things to set up with like Bajuka Bog with Tormod's Crypt. But it's still a bit like these cards are you're playing these cards to play kind of a group politics thing like this whole set goes to do this. But like I'm still not really on board with this card just because each player like the first part is like you make like you and another player sacrifice a creature to draw 2 cards, and it's like there's so many instances where they could just make it like produce a token somehow randomly that you just overlooked or just things like that where it's just having the like it's only really good when your opponent has 1 threat out. If you have any just collateral creatures, it's really not good
because otherwise you just give them fuel. I mean,
it's just like I will trade like a lot of creatures for just 2 cards late game.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and I mean the reanimator effect,
and it's like you can definitely get some cool value where like you sacrifice like a Grave Titan or like a
and then you get the ETB effect.
And like it's effectively like a flicker, but it doesn't seem worth it. That being said, like I could still see some people playing this, but I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5.
Me too. It can do some stuff, but I think that the times where it's bad are going to really heavily outweigh the times where it's really going to help you win the game.
Yeah, there's gonna be times where this card kills you.
Yeah.
All right, and moving on, Malicious Affliction, black for an instant with Morbid. When you cast Malicious Affliction, if a creature dies this turn, you may copy it and choose a new target for the copy. And it just straight up is destroy target non-black creature.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think that, I don't like Doomblade, but a double Doomblade, all right. I mean, that would offset the fact that it can't destroy black creatures. And I would be okay with that.
Yeah, it is heavier on black. The double black cost is it's a non-zero thing where it's like it's It can be a downside. It's not always. And you're not always going to be able to get the Morbid, but it's still... Like, destroying a non-black creature...
It's not terrible. I mean, it's okay removal. It's fairly indiscriminate.
Yeah. I feel like I'd rather just, like, pay a little bit more mana and do something like, even just Barter and Blood 4 mana and make each player sacrifice 2 creatures.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Or play, like, a less restrictive mana cost and play Go for the Throat. There just seems to be, like, so many options for removal. I don't know if I would select this as my removal of choice.
Yeah, it would definitely depend on the general for me. Like, I mean, I would obviously run this in Vishkal because, I mean, Vishkal can make that Morbid.
You know you have the Morbid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a sure thing. You don't have to wait around because, I mean, it also has the potential to kind of like help you dig yourself an early grave because if you're waiting around trying to get greedy and getting that 2 for 1, then your opponent messes around and blows you out. Then what are you left with really?
Yeah. And it just, the fact that so many decks in Commander are multicolor.
Yeah, I mean, the non-black really does kind of.
It's risky.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5.
I mean, yeah, I'll give it 3 out of 5 too.
Just because like removal in general, like it's solid, efficient removal.
Like when I get a copy of this, I am gonna run it.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. I mean, I'm running it in Erebos. Like it doesn't have a ton of psych outlets, but I mean, creatures are dying fairly often, so the card is gonna be fairly reliable.
It's an instant, so it's like
it's only 2 black. I mean, yeah. I'd run it, sure.
All
right, so the next one is Necromantic Selection. 4 and 3 black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures. Then return a creature card. Put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And then you exile Necromantic Selection. Why not? I mean, why not? I mean, I've paid 7 for Reanimator effects before. And I would pay 7 for something that leaves you with the only creature on the battlefield, especially if that creature.
Doom Blast.
I mean, really, it's a mono black Doom Blast
that lets you get an ETB ability.
Yeah, it's so absolutely. Like, do I want to bring back my Runescar Demon? Sure, that sounds like a great deal. Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Phyrexian Rebirth and the fact that it's a war web that like gets you something after. But it's better. Like, it's better.
It's way better than Phyrexian Rebirth because it doesn't just give you it doesn't just give you a big creature. It gives you a big creature with an ability staple to it, which is awesome. Or not necessarily
a big creature. It gives you any creature you want. You want that Oracle Moldiah, you get it. You want, even if like the board is pre-anemic, there's a bunch of tokens, like you get a random like Coiling Oracle and you feel good.
Yeah, I mean really, it's a +1 and you destroy all creatures. I mean you still get actually a +2 off an Oracle. Like you get the creature back and split. Yeah. So I mean it's strong. It's strong.
It's strong. The triple black does make it a little bit like tough to cast sometimes. But if you're playing it in like a mono black or like a black X deck, you're probably gonna be able to cast most times. My big thing is like, what about like comparing this card to like a Decree of Pain, which costs 8.
It's not as good as Decree of Pain.
Yeah.
I fundamentally believe that Decree of Pain is probably one of the best board wipes ever created.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
like a board wipe that, like, for each creature that dies, you effectively are gaining 2 cards. Because it's like that creature dies, you draw a card.
And let's say you find that 8 mana a little bit steep to play. I mean,
you got the cycle.
You got the cycle, and you draw a card. You get rid of some 2/2s, and then you draw a card. I mean, so it doesn't
like that card is definitely better. But this card's pretty good. So
it's comparable.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're like looking at your commander deck and you're trying to find a room for this card, don't take out Decree of Pain.
No.
Take out Extinguish All Hope, the black one from...
Absolutely. Don't. I wouldn't even run Extinguish All Hope personally. I mean...
just there's other things you can cut. Like, this card is not as good as Decree of Pain, but Decree of Pain is like 5 out of 5.
And I definitely think that this card complements. I definitely think... I wouldn't feel bad running them side by side, even at the 7 and 8 cost. It's kind of steep, but I would still run it, absolutely. So, I mean, I give this card 4 out of 5, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 4 out of 5, which is... I expect to see this from multiple people, like, multiple decks. It's like... In Carador, it's good.
Absolutely.
In Jared, it's good. In Vishkal, it's good. I consider for 5 minutes just naming decks where it's good.
I mean, we could spend all day naming decks where this is good, but this card is good. Yeah. Like, it's good.
It's 4 to 5. It's not going to define the format, but it's...
I mean, it'll definitely see play in a lot of one-color decks. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we've been giving out like a little bit of 5s too casually because it's just like I think we gave 5 to the first legendary cat guy, Goldmane.
Yeah, I mean,
it's definitely not a 5. I think we were just excited about that card.
Yeah, I mean 4 for sure, but
4 for sure.
5 is a bit much, but 4 absolutely,
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Black Planeswalker, Obnixilis of the Black Oath. 3 black for Planeswalker Nixilis, not Planeswalker Obnixilis for reasons.
Interesting. Yeah.
And starts with 3 loyalty, and looking at his +2, each opponent loses 1 life, you gain life equals life lost this way. So a mini exsanguinate.
Yeah. It's okay. I definitely don't think it's the strongest of the the +1 the pluses of the abilities for these new cycle of Planeswalkers. But I mean, it's okay.
It's extort.
It's extort. I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't really even. I honestly don't. I think that ability should be a little bit better. I mean, especially when compared to his other Planeswalker counterparts.
Yeah, I think the big thing is that it's part of the balancing thing of he has a lower ultimate.
Yes.
And his -2 is actually really good.
Yeah,
So like we're gonna look at his -2 here. It is -2. Put a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying on the battlefield. You lose 2 life.
That's incredible.
So that balances out because the +2 lets you gain life.
And then,
so
So
it makes it effectively null, and you're probably gonna even net 1 life a lot of times.
Yeah, no, I mean the -2 very, very, very strong.
So
5/5 body in the air, very good.
If you're just playing Obnixilis straight up and -2 him, you get a 5/5 flyer
for 5
mana,
which isn't bad.
And you still get the Planeswalker.
I mean, you get hit for 2, but I mean,
yeah, you don't really care. It's commander.
No, you don't.
Yeah. All right, and his ultimate is -8. You gain an emblem with 1 in a black. Sacrifice a creature. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the sacrifice creature's power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like Agent of Bolus, just whenever.
I mean, really,
Just
like
instant speed.
It's incredibly strong. Like, why not? Like,
yeah.
If you can do it at instant speed, I mean, you never need to get the emblem off more than once, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that will.
Yeah, you just get the emblem.
That will definitely carry you for most of the game.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
like if you get that emblem off and you don't die, I feel like it's a pretty hard spot for you to lose from.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, absolutely.
Like reanimating Adrian of Bolus is always good. Like I've.
Yeah.
Just like do that on like a Worm Coil engine, do that on whatever, you feel good about it. Sphinx's Revelation's a powerful card.
Yeah.
no matter how you cut it.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So I mean I think we stick with 5 out of 5 on this one. Like
yeah.
I mean,
obviously like looking just at the ultimate of a Planeswalker is a bit shallow because generally they're very powerful.
No, but I mean like the other 2 abilities are still pretty strong.
Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah, like the ultimate's easy to reach. It lives through its ultimate, and even the +2 doesn't seem super exciting. But a lot of times
it'll get mileage. It'll get a lot of mileage.
Yeah, it gets mileage. Like if you've ever just extorted an EDH, like it feels good.
You gain like 3-4 life for paying 1 mana. I mean that's pretty good.
Yeah, and just like this, you're not even paying anymore. You're just +2ing it.
Yeah,
and that just feels good. All right, moving on.
All right, so Overseer of the Damned, 5 and 2 black for a 5/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature, and whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you put a 2/2 zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. Not that impressed with it.
Yeah, it's Shadowborn Demon was a good card.
Yeah,
not fantastic, but
it got there. I mean, it was 5/6 for 5. I mean, it had a bit of a gimmick in order to stick around. But
yeah, and the fact that this card is has part of that, but then it just gives value whenever opponent's creature dies.
Yeah,
I like this card for one reason more than any, and that is when you have Grave Pact out.
Oh yeah.
It just you have a sack out like Grave Pact, and all of a sudden your opponents don't have creatures anymore.
Yeah, I mean I like it. It's okay. It's not crazy or anything, but the fact that it can sharpshoot any creature instead of just non-black or non-zombie or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think that's really gonna play it. Like
and it doesn't have the stupid if it was cast clause on it, so you can flicker.
So you can actually do something useful with it. Yes.
And even afterwards, you have a 5/5 flyer with a relevant ability.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I don't think it's as good as Harvester of Souls. That 6/6 death touch. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you draw a card. You may draw a card.
I don't know. Like I've never really been that big of a fan of Harvester of Souls because I mean I play it because it draws cards, but it draws cards really slowly. Usually, unless you just board wipe.
Well, or sack outlets and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or also, speaking of board wipes, this works fantastic if you're setting up for both. Well, if you're trying to buy time and you think that at some point in the near future you might need to board wipe, this guy is perfect because he's gonna leave. You're gonna be the only person who's not naked after a board wipe, and it's gonna be really, really good.
Yeah, I feel like this card fills a similar kind of role as Harvester of Souls. It's it's giving you value for just cash killing creatures, but the fact that it's only opponents makes me lean a little bit away from it because if it was non-token creatures anyone controls, I would like this so much more.
Yeah, I mean,
and like it makes it so you have to be like removing creatures and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which is definitely like a cost.
I mean, I'm okay with it saying opponent controls because I think that if it didn't say opponent controls, I think it'd just be too easy.
Yeah.
Like I think it'd just be way too easy.
Yeah.
Like you got to make the players work for it. I mean,
yeah.
come on now.
But that being said, like it still interacts super favorably with like Grave Pact, so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, me too. It'll see play, like for sure. I mean, it's not going to see play in every black deck, but I think there are a lot of black decks that can use it. And again, here's looking at you, Taysa. How you doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, doesn't Taysa exile? With her like.
Yeah, she exiles, but she can still use the 2/2, which has a total 1/1.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that have been good for Taysa in this.
Yeah.
Like, black and white token carrying things. Just, yeah. I might end up building that now.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
All right, next up is Raving Dead, 4 and a black for a zombie with Death Touch, and is a 2/6. With at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. Raving Dead attacks that player this combat if able, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or life rounded down.
Oh my lord! Ugh.
So it's quiet as Spike, with like the drawback of that America commander. Like what was that card?
Ruhan of the Fomori.
Oh yeah,
God, yeah.
With that ability, and
no,
it is a 2/6, which means might live through a lot of chump blocks, and it is Death Touch.
But it'll probably get chunk blocked just about every single time.
Yeah.
You can't gain any real tactical advantage off this deliberately because of the random effect. It makes you
kind of a target.
It really does. I mean,
yeah. It doesn't do what you want it to.
It doesn't do. It pretends to.
Yeah.
It's a hey man, I'm gonna hit him. They're gonna lose all like half their life. It's gonna be amazing. And then he attacks the guy who has like 14 life for no reason.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. It's like it's one of those cards that like
it just
gets kind of worse the later the game goes, but it just seems underwhelming.
It is.
It's just I don't know. I'm gonna give this guy actually a 1 out of 5.
Me too. I was thinking about 2, but just because of its likeness to Master of Cruelties, which as a lot of people know, it's just really, really, really strong, especially in Kalia.
Yeah, Kalia is like where like that deck really shines. But outside of Kalia, I've never been super worried about the card because it's just
neither have I.
It's just gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Kalia, it really has the exact same problem that Raven Dead has, except Raven Dead is even worse because it won't. There are still a lot of things that Raven Dead won't survive.
Yeah,
like other things with Death Touch.
Yeah, and it's just being a 2/6 for 5. It's like it's on the most fish thing. And just
I mean, it's a hard life being a 2/6 for 5. I mean,
yeah, even Death Touch.
Yeah,
I do not like this card.
Neither do I.
All right.
So Spoils of Blood. It's 1 black. It's an instant. Put an XX black horror creature token in the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not super excited about it, mostly because I don't like cards that require me to be reactive. Like, I mean, there are a lot of reactive cards that are good, but I find that a lot of them it just make you wait way too long, and then by the time you actually do it, it's just really not that strong at the end.
I like this because there was that similar card in green back in New for Records.
Yeah, Fresh Meat.
Yeah, what's it called? Fresh Meat.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it turned into 3/3s, right? Whenever.
Yeah. It's 3 and a green for instant. Get X 3/3 beasts, where X number of creatures that die this turn. Mm-hmm. So it's a very similar card. It gave you more power than creatures died, but it cost 4 mana. This card has a 1-up on that just because it costs a black, which is definitely a much less cost. You don't really have to try to leave mana up for this. A lot of times you just have 1 black left over.
Yeah.
That being said, if you're in like a heavy black deck, a lot of times like you don't really want to have the XX guy because he's just the big creatures you get. You kind of want to have a token. You want to have not be a token, so you can randomate and do stuff with that.
Yeah, so you can actually do more stuff with it.
But that being said, like a lot of times, like I could see this just you have 1 mana left over and you sacrificed a bunch of tokens and you just jam this guy down and hey look, I have a 10/10.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely or it's just like somebody blasphems Axe or Wrath or whatever, and you just happen to have it in hand and you just. Like, at the end step, when they think that they have the upper hand after they've already tapped out to play something after the Wrath, get a 12/12 or whatever.
That being said, it's one of those cards that's only really good like reactively or like if you're already comboing off.
Yep.
So that being said, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5.
Me too. Honestly, yeah, I wouldn't run it. I just cannot think of a deck where I would run it and be satisfied that I'm running this card, even at 1 mana at instant speed.
Yeah, it's just I'd rather just play Tragic Slip.
Yeah.
I'd rather give a creature -13/-13 than have a 13/13.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, to be honest, like 13/13s and EDH just really aren't that good.
Yeah,
like
it's,
I mean, unless
just having a big beefy dude just generally doesn't get there.
Yeah, especially if they don't have any protection or anything like that. It's actually, just, I mean, it'll surprise a lot of people, but it just really doesn't. Like,
yeah. All right, moving on. Wake the Dead. X black for an instant. Cast it only during combat on an opponent's turn. Return X target creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sacrifice those creatures at the beginning of the next end step.
What? Like,
yeah.
What? Hold up.
Okay, well, he's recovering. I think this card is bad.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Why?
Because it's only during combat on an opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And you're just using them as blockers.
Okay, no. Okay, so check this out. All right, so first off, it's not double X. Let's make sure we understand this.
It is not double X.
It's not double X, which means it's perfectly reasonable to pay 5 or 6 into it in an EDH game. Look at all the things that you can bring back that will stick permanently. So, Wake of the Dead, you bring back Revelark, you bring back Sepulchral Primordial, you can bring back Runescar Demon, which won't stick, but it will give you something that will stick. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of cards. I mean, Phyrexian Obliterator. Phyrexian, the 3/2 that reanimates.
Oh, yeah. Phyrexian was a
Delver, like,
yeah.
Karmic Guide. I mean, there are a lot of cards that you can use this card at instant speed to bring back, even if you can only play it during combat. I mean, you can bring back all of these cards that have them only last until end of turn, but they have very lasting effects. So, I mean, I think that this card is excellent. I think it's a very, very, very strong card.
I don't think it's excellent, and here's why. It's a fact that it's still one of those cards that is dependent heavily on the graveyard, and it's like, okay, it's just from your graveyard, so you get to pick, like okay, reanimate like 5 things. You get to build around it. But that being said, I would rather just use that slot to, if you're not, I assume you're already playing Rise of the Dark Realms because you're black, why aren't you? Mm-hmm. Even like, just any other reanimator spell. I feel like I would just rather have like a reanimator spell that consistently give me something, because I can reanimate like Revelark, I can reanimate Phyrexian Delver, and I could get more value off that. And I just feel like this is, if this was any graveyard, I would like a little bit more. But it's just,
if it was any graveyard, then this card would be absolutely bonkers, and this card would be a 5 out of 5 because it needs to be in every deck. Like,
I still don't know if it was even that, if it would be 5 out of 5 for me.
Really?
Just because I don't like the fact that you can only use it during combat on opponent's turn, and it has so many like restrictions for me that I can't give it like a very high grade. Like, I was actually, before you said anything, I was gonna give this a 1 out of 5. And now you say something, I'm gonna give it like a 2 out of 5.
Like, honestly, like I would give this card a 4 out of 5 because I think that the ability that this card grants you to take over games just by bringing a lot of cards back from the graveyard that have ETB effects is tremendous. I mean, you can do it at instant speed. It's at very little cost. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to pay 9 mana into it. You could just like pay 5 total. Bring back 3 creatures that have cool effects. Bring back a Runescar Demon. Yeah. Bring back, Grave Titan or whatever after they've swung. So not only do you get all these ETB effects plus a bunch of value, plus cards in hand maybe if you bring back a Runescar Demon or whatever, but you also get blockers, surprise blockers, and it potentially functions as removal. So I think 4 out of 5 absolutely. Yeah. I think that a lot of black decks could be running this, and they should be.
Yeah, I could see that, but like my thing is that I look at this card and go like, I know there's gonna be times where like you want to cast it, but you have like 1 creature in your graveyard, and it's not very good.
Sometimes it happens. I don't think that's going to happen very often, but I do see that. I definitely see that point.
Yeah, and I don't like playing with cards like that.
Okay, all right.
So for me, it's a 2 out of 5. I could see playing against any being blown out, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go there.
I definitely think that this card.
I'd rather go with something consistent like on Burial Rites or like Beacon of Unrest.
Beacon of Unrest. Yeah, Beacon of Unrest. I'll throw my lot in for Beacon of Unrest, but I think Wake of the Dark. I think Wake of the Dead is absolutely going to be fantastic.
In the market for another reanimator spell that you don't care if it's kind of situational, I guess Wake of the Undead is for you. Wake of the Dead is for you, but I can't bring myself to play.
And here's looking at all those Mycaius players. I'm just saying.
Oh, but yeah, I guess
it's not exile; it's sacrifice.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's really why I'm a big fan of it. If it was exile, then I wouldn't even.
I like that synergy. I'm still gonna give it 2 out of 5.
I tried, ladies and gentlemen. I tried.
Yeah, I just like I could definitely see moving up to a 3 on that, but for now I'm gonna stick with 2.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. All right, moving on to red.
Okay, so Bitter Feud. It's an enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, for 4 in a red. As it enters the battlefield, you choose 2 players. If a source controlled by one of the chosen players would deal damage to the other chosen player, or a permanent that player controls, the source deals double that damage instead to that player or permanent. So you got 2 people who are feuding really hard, and they're dealing double damage to each other.
Mini Furnace of Wrath.
Yeah, I don't like it though.
Yeah.
Because maybe before Perforos this would have been really awesome, but with Perforos where you can do all of that without having to commit yourself to a fairly gimmicky enchantment, I really just don't think that this card is going to get the mileage it needs to get in order to be useful.
Are you talking about like Dictator of the Twin Gods? Because Perforos is the...
No. I mean, I'm referring to the type of damage that Perforos does. I mean, Perforos doesn't need to single out... Like, cards like Perforos don't need to single out a single player in order to be very effective.
Yeah. My thing with Bitter Feud is you're not going to be casting this on targeting yourself at all. You're targeting 2 opponents. That way, it's not. It's like more like Edric.
Okay.
In that you're rewarding people for attacking someone, not you.
Okay, so that's much better. I'm sorry, I misread that card. That is much better.
Yeah, and Simon Target is choosing, so that's a plus.
So they can't even. Okay, so they don't even know until it hits the battlefield.
Yeah. I just don't think it's fantastic, just because I feel like if you're going Furnace of Wrath, go all in a Furnace of Wrath. But then again, if you're in a 3-player game and they have equal reason to attack another opponent and you, this gives them reason to attack the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, especially for when you're running Gisela, cards like Gisela absolutely just blow people out with cards like Bitter Feud. So I'm willing to give Bitter Feud. I think I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I wouldn't run it in every red deck that I can think of, but it has utility, and I think that players could really utilize this.
Yeah, it is definitely a card based on group politics, and there's gonna be times where you cast it, and players are just gonna decide we don't want to have to attack each other. We're just both gonna attack you.
Yeah, and
that's gonna be a bit of a downside.
But even in that situation, you're still in a better position to fend off against that because you're dealing double damage to both of them.
Because they're dealing...
You're not. Oh, you're not. Oh my God, I can't read cards. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I can't read cards apparently.
I'm gonna give it a 2 out. Just because,
never mind. I'm changing it to 2 out.
This card is kind of confusing how it's worded. It's I had to read this card a couple times because it does a lot of things. Yeah. And very
it pretends to do a lot of things, but it actually does very little.
Yeah.
To be perfect, the wording is clunky. You have to work really hard to get that opponent to attack the other. Oh,
you know what this is? This is the obligatory red enchantment in the set that people have to read 5 times.
Oh, I was. Now that you mentioned it, I'm really glad that I'm glad you pointed that out. I can stop looking for it.
Yeah.
I can stop worrying about it being around. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Moving on to the new red Planeswalker, Duretti Scrap Savant. 3 in a red for a Planeswalker Duretti with 3 loyalty. And let's talk about his +2. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards.
Really good. Well, there's nothing. There's no brainer. That card, that ability is really strong, especially when red likes loot effects usually. Sometimes
red doesn't get card advantage. Red gets card selection.
Yes. So with this card on deck, especially at the 4 mana slot.
Yeah.
Your card selection is going to be excellent for most of the game.
Yeah.
Really.
Just discard extra lands all day. This is maybe one of the more strong of the possibilities on this, just because it gives red something it doesn't normally have at a mana that they don't normally get it, and the fact that it's the best faithless looting you're ever going to get in EDH.
It really is, especially because it's up to 2 cards, so you can just do it for +2 for nothing, or if you only have 1 card in hand that you really want to get rid of.
Yeah, or you can just discard nothing and just loyalty.
Yeah, exactly. So and it plays fantastically into its next ability, which is -2, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Goblin Welder, everybody.
Like, how you doing?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, his +2 plays perfectly into his -2. And even if you don't have anything discarded from his +2, I mean, it still has fantastic synergy with anything you have on deck.
Yeah, just like, even if you're not, even obviously you're going to want to put this card in artifact-based decks. I have a slow bad commander deck. This is like mana from heaven.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you're running Spinovish Saw. How would you like another Spinovish Saw? Like, I mean,
Spinovish Saw returns itself.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is you sacrifice that artifact, return to your hand, and then you get something back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
so
enough.
It's super crazy.
Yeah, and it's like Goblin Welder is always really good with like mirror, like especially like Mirror Battlesphere and Worm Coil Engine. It's just this card is going to be really good, even if you're not focused on artifacts. I would still play this in like effectively any red commander deck, just because it's letting you set up the cards you have in hand and just hey, reuse like that Wayfarer's Bauble, reuse that Burnished Heart.
I mean, yeah. I mean, absolutely. That once in a, that every now and then artifact that you draw that, I mean, every deck just about has to run. Burnished Heart being one of them. I mean,
it's just like late game, you top deck Burnished Heart, you trade it in for like a Gildos that got destroyed earlier.
Yeah.
Or something. It's just, it lets you have advantage late game, and you don't even ever have to -2 him. His +2 is fantastic.
Yeah.
And let's go into his ultimate, which you're probably not going to do unless you're artifact based. But you get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step.
Insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean,
better than Darksteel Forge.
Yeah, I mean,
in a way, because you get to reuse all of those.
I think it's strictly better than Darksteel Forge. Yeah. I mean, because it has the same weaknesses as Darksteel Forge, which is to say you can still exile it.
Yeah.
But if it somehow gets like sacrificed or -X,
technically, like Tormod's Crypt still gets you in this case.
Yeah.
But the fact that like Darksteel Forge, which is indestructible itself, this one-ups it by making it, you can't even interact with it by making an emblem.
Exactly. So I mean, I think this ability is very good. I mean, and the thing about this is like this emblem has the capacity to grant you considerable advantage, even if you only have like 2 artifacts to sacrifice. I mean, even if you only have like a Burnished Heart and I don't know, like a Solemn or whatever. I mean, you can still get a lot of advantage just off of those 2 cards. That's if you don't draw any other artifacts for the rest of the game. Like that's
and
it's good.
I would definitely rather play this card in an artifact-based deck. And this card is a soft spot in my heart just because when they were actually designing this card, because they designed the mechanics for these cards before they designed the characters, they actually were thinking about making this slow bad. Because he was technically a Planeswalker for all of 15 minutes.
But, yes, 15 minutes of fame.
So like this card will always just be slow bad to me.
I mean, slow bad Scrap Savant,
even though Duretti as a Planeswalker is pretty cool because he's from Fiora, the Conspiracy Plane, and he doesn't have legs. They got blown off in a lab accident. And I just find this guy cool. But I'm going to definitely give this guy 5 out of 5. This is probably my favorite of the Planeswalkers. He's super powerful in any red deck, but also rewards you for playing more artifacts.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's 5 out of 5. Absolutely. Like, run it. Yeah. Run it.
Yes. And, like, it's weird just to think of, like, he's so centered around artifacts, but, like, I would still play in, like, Barbarigmos. In my Barbarigmos Rage deck, I'd play that.
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see it as a spot. I don't know if it'd be my first pick, because that second ability. I mean, it'd be a lot better if something if you had something for that second and third ability.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of times in EDH, there's like you have 1 or 2 really good artifacts and a lot of like just little value things. Like a lot of decks play like a Tormod's Crypt, a Nihil Spellbomb.
Yeah.
Like a Wayfarer's Bauble. Or
Expedition Map or something like that.
Yeah. Just a lot of little things that like drawing late game are normally bad. All of a sudden, if you have Duretti in play, you can cash it in for reanimating stuff, or or you can wait to ultimate it, and all of a sudden, hey, look. Or you don't even have to like wait to like lose the big thing. You can just discard it and then trade a Wayfarer's Bauble for a Worm Coil Engine,
which is totally. I mean, I heard it was legit. Personally, I mean.
All right. Moving on from Duretti, the awesome.
Yeah. So Dual Casting Rage. So we got a 1 and 2 red for a 2/2 with Flash Human Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell, and you may choose new target for the copy.
I actually think this is really good.
I mean,
it's not as situational. It's more situational than a lot of the ETB effects. But just I'm imagining, especially a red heavy deck, just the fact that this gives you a 2/2 after the reverberate effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the fact that it's any. And just, you get to sometimes just have, like, say in Riku, where you have Deadeye Navigator, and it's just...
I see what you mean, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, because the thing is, like, I I mean, I've never been a big fan of things like Fork and Reverberate. Like, I'm not really a big fan of like Twin Cast, but like, I mean, having that on a 2/2, it's a very modest cost.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know if we've ever had this ability on such a small creature with flash, like something that's really easy to get out there, slow to the ground, but it's still very impactful, and it's just it lets you have cast like Path in your red deck and still get a creature out of it.
And not to mention the fact that it serves as a blocker. Like, I mean, it's a blocker. It can potentially copy an exceptionally powerful spell, and there are a lot of powerful spells. Somebody wants to do time stretch, like you pay 3 mana and you get a time stretch in a 2/2.
Yeah, just like 2/2 for weapons.
I mean,
but also
really.
just like it lets you as a red deck have a card that you can play main deck and not feel too bad about it. Just because no matter what you're copying, you're still gonna have the 2/2, and you're gonna feel okay. I have a 2/2.
Yeah.
And
so
like,
I mean, it's not.
You could copy a Brainstorm, or you could copy Rise of the Dark Realms.
I mean,
case, you're gonna feel good.
there's definitely. I think I think most red decks. This is definitely gonna have a place. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 too. Like maybe it'll go down over time, but like I'm excited to try this. In multiple decks.
And I honestly don't play red a whole lot, but like that because whenever we get spoilers, I was thinking to myself, all right, let's check out the red cards, because let's be honest, like a lot of these red cards, they're very sort of like random, and sometimes they're really awesome. Sometimes we get a Banefire, and then sometimes we get Guild Feud.
Oh, poor Guild Feud.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this card.
And just the fact that we need a lot of really good red cards in this set, which is not something that normally happens.
It's true. That is true. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think they put a lot of effort into that and shows. All right, moving on to the new legendary creature. I didn't realize this character was red until now, but Thildon of the Third Path. 1 red for a Human Artificer. It's a 2/3. For 2 in a red, tap it, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact. In addition to its other types, gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end. So it's a Splinter Twin, Kiki Jiki style effect. But like, just the flavor text is so haunting. It's just, she will come back to
you. No, it's amazing. No, I absolutely love the flavor of this. Like, trying to get his lover back. Like, it's a fantastic. First of all, I think it's a fantastic card. Like, it's very reasonably cost.
Yeah, very low cost, very useful. It's just like you don't have to be an artifact deck to care about this card.
No, you don't. And the best part about this is because it does such a good job of playing into red strength. This whole the whole aspect of looting.
Yeah.
Like looting only makes this deck even more powerful than a looting effect normally would. So I think that it's a really good card. Absolutely.
Yeah. I definitely 5 out of 5 for me. Mm-hmm. It's just there's not a lot to say about this card other than just like it is a powerful, low cost red creature that has the ability to interact with the late game very positively, and just you don't get that too often.
See, I don't know if I'd give it a 5 out of 5 just because I think it's powerful. I think that most red decks like could run it. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna change the format. Like I don't know if it's gonna be stapled onto the format, but I definitely think that a lot of people it's gonna see play. I think a lot of people are gonna run it. I think it's gonna do a lot of good work.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go with 5 out of 5 just because like it's so powerful and it gives red something it doesn't normally get, and that's like a reanimate style effect.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of times, like red's downfall when it comes to like token making is just make tokens that are from the battlefield.
Yeah,
it's like I already have this creature, I just get extra creatures.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just all of a sudden, that like really powerful creature you killed a while ago, I just have him back and he's gonna do his stuff, and I can sacrifice and get some value off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you can sacrifice it to try to like up there and get value off of it.
Yeah.
It just I really like this guy.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you're going with 4. I'm going with 5.
Yeah.
And we're moving on to Impact Resonance.
All right. So we got a 1 in the red instant. Impact Resonance deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, where X is the greatest amount of damage dealt by a source to a permanent or player this turn. Let me take a breath, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't like this card.
Neither do I.
It's reactionary.
Not that we already know about my misgivings concerning reactionary cards, but there are certain reactionary cards that I'm totally okay with. Condemn in EDH, fantastic reactionary card.
Yeah.
Impact Resonance, not so much.
Yeah, because it's like you want to be playing. It's not inherently reactionary because you can deal a bunch of damage with one spell, and this is effectively copying it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very dependent on dealing a lot of damage with something else, and it's just. I'd rather like have this do something just on its own. I don't like cards that you have to be actually doing other things or have to do literally anything.
Yeah. It's so yeah. I mean, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. I don't think there's a whole lot to say about this card.
I'm going 1 out of 5. Like I don't think you should ever put this in a deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe somewhere like over the rainbow, somebody's gonna be able to do something with this. I think, but right now,
it's one of those times where like it's a lot of times it at best is going to be the same as copying the spell.
Yeah, and I'm not okay with that. Yeah, it's going to have to be better. Yeah,
it's from one source. And a lot of times red doesn't have like one really big creature, it has like a lot of like little creatures.
So you're dealing maybe 2 or 3 damage, maybe unless you're doing like dragons and such like that.
Yeah.
I mean, then you have a little bit more potential for damage, but I'm not sold on it.
Yeah. All right. Moving to Incite Rebellion. 4 red for a sorcery. For each player, Incite Rebellion deals damage to that player and each creature that player controls equal to the number of creatures he or she controls.
I like it.
So chain reaction?
It's chain reaction with a Lavalanche on top.
Yeah.
I like it, to be perfectly honest. I was a very big fan of Lavalanche when I remember my first EDH deck was Scarecrow, and I ran Lavalanche in it. And some people don't like it just because it only targets one player.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fantastic card.
Yeah.
Like it just completely blows out one opponent. Just choose one and they lose everything. They take a bunch of damage.
Just imagine you play Derevi. Just imagine your opponent casts this on you. Just like you take like.
I take a bunch of damage. Like,
and all the creatures die, and you're just like.
I think about Reaper King, not Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Reaper King, ladies and gentlemen, not Scarecrow. Definitely not a general.
Scarecrow is definitely the commander of that deck.
I mean, really. I mean, when I dropped it, it ran stuff a lot better than the Reaper King. But I think that Incite Rebellion is good. I don't think it's gonna be like I don't think it's gonna like change anything.
Yeah.
But I think I can definitely see a few red decks where I could run that. Like I would run that in not Aurelia. I mean, I'd probably run it in Aurelia too. But I could run that in.
It's one of those things for me that if your opponent just has one threat out, like and nothing else, it doesn't kill it. But it punishes token players so heavily.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tokens in EDH.
I mean, even if you're not looking at tokens, you are just really like anybody tries to like Genesis Wave or like I mean it punishes players that like try to like cheat a bunch of things into play for free. Even black players to a certain extent.
It makes people who are ahead feel really bad about getting ahead.
Yeah, actually, I mean I still don't think that I would be afraid enough of it.
Yeah, you're not gonna play around it. You're not gonna not Genesis Wave for 10
because
of this card.
But I will. It will wreck me. Like it will wreck me.
It will give you bad. It's like in the same vein as Blasphemous Act and Chain Reaction, where it deals a bunch of damage, kind of based on the number of creatures in play.
I mean, I still think that
Blasphemous Act is probably
definitely better.
Yeah, definitely better.
I mean, I think this is better than Chain Reaction. To be perfectly honest, I think it's better than Chain Reaction.
I think Chain Reaction can be better just because it deals X damage to each creature, where X is total creatures.
So it's a lot more consistent than
it's more consistent as a board way.
Yeah.
But Incite Rebellion is great when you want to kill a lot of creatures and maybe kill a player along the way.
Yeah, So I mean, I'm going to give Incite Rebellion a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5 seems.
I think it's fair. I think it's playable.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to Scrap Mastery.
Okay.
3 red for sorcery. Take it away.
All right. So each player exiles all artifact cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. Now, a lot of you probably recognize this right off the bat as sort of an artifact version of Living End, which is excellent. Like,
Living End, Living Death.
Yeah, Living Death. So, yeah. Yes. It's good. I think I like it. I like it a lot.
And the thing about like Scrap Mastery is it's weird because like if you are the artifact deck, if you're like a Slowbad, which I love how Slowbad got new toys, like but it's just the fact that if you're the artifact deck, you get a lot more value off this.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a lot like as opposed to like Living Dead, I think like Living Dead.
Well, most decks run creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most decks aren't very artifact heavy, so I mean the amount of like value you're going to be getting off of this as opposed to your opponents is really just overwhelming.
Yeah, and even if you're not overly heavy artifacts, as long as no one else is having artifacts, you're still getting rid of a lot of the relevant artifacts on board, which is good.
Yeah,
which is a lot of times like it's also good for screwing over the artifact player who has like their Darksteel Forge thing established.
Yeah, so it gets rid of all that stuff. So I mean, and
it like gets you back like Wayfarer's Bob and like little things, but obviously you want to be casting this in a deck where you get all the value off like off of Slowbad because like Slowbad's good at sacrificing artifacts.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I'm gonna give this 4 out of 5.
I feel like I have to give it a 3 out of 5 only because this.
It's a bit narrow.
It's a bit narrow.
Okay.
I mean, the deck. I mean, in slow bad, it's
Not the most popular of commanders.
true.
Hopefully that will change.
Yeah, yeah. With this, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, it really only fits in a certain type of deck, and there are a lot of red decks that don't utilize artifacts enough to make this card good.
Fair enough. 3 out of 5 is probably correct. I'm way too
I
excited.
mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really excited about this. I mean, this is still a really good card.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have as wide an application.
Yeah, it's definitely closer to 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 3 out of 5 too. Like I'm just being way too excited.
Being a fanboy about Scrapmaster.
Notice me, senpai. Scrapmaster senpai.
Yeah,
all
really.
Right. All right. Moving on to Tyrant's Familiar.
All right.
5 red for a dragon, because there has to be a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Flying haste 5/5 lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Tyrant's Familiar gets +2/+2, and whenever Tyrant's Familiar attacks, it deals 7 damage to target creature defending player controls.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good. I mean, the only thing I would be worried about is like counting on this guy to sharpshoot something, like super. I guess it's super shoot something.
Yeah, it effectively kills it.
Yeah, and then having somebody do anything to your commander.
Yeah.
I don't. This guy isn't someone that I feel comfortable relying on.
Yeah.
Just because it would be so easy to neuter his effect. I mean, he's still a 5/5 flying case, but it's a 5/5 flying case for 7, and that by itself is not good enough.
Yeah, it's not very good. I think this can be good. One, like the fact that a lot of red commanders are generally pretty low cost. They're kind of low to the ground. Even like Riku is kind of low cost, and like imagine copying this guy with Riku. I'm not gonna play this in Riku, but
yeah,
it's just a matter that I'm playing this guy mostly for the fact that he effectively just kills a creature.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of times if you're playing red, I feel like red casts its commanders more often than most decks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's like Urabrask, things like that.
Yeah,
it's just you want to have your commander out there, even in like red X decks. You generally you want to be attacking the commander, you want them out in the fray of things.
Yeah,
this guy goes into that. Favorite thing about this card, in Scion, when you have Scion out, you can pay to search your library for a dragon, put in your graveyard, and return him as a copy of it.
Yeah.
So you make Scion his own lieutenant.
So
and he attacks and deals 7 damage to something.
Which is pretty sweet. Yeah. Because they have to kill Scion at that point anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it's just I think it's pretty cool. It's not the widest application. It's kind of clunky. 7 mana for a 5/5 flying haste isn't where you want to be at.
No.
But it's still not terrible. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
As will I. I think that it is definitely going to be playable. I don't see a whole lot of decks running this, but I still think it's a fairly powerful card.
Like it's a bit awkward because it doesn't trigger off Kalia.
It doesn't. Yeah.
But it's still like it feeds into Kalia and like Kalia strategy. Like next turn you get to do it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is Kalia is still relatively cheap as a commander. Yeah. So I mean, and the biggest problem with Kalia is that she sticks so often. Yeah. So I mean, you'll get that next turn usually.
Yeah, yeah. You just play Kalia, then play the Tyrant's Familiar, then swing with both, kill like their one flying blocker. Kalia puts in another creature, and all of a sudden they're taking too much damage to live. Yeah. So I mean, I still think it's good. I think 3 is exactly where it should be at. Yeah. It's perfectly appropriate. All right. Moving on to Volcanic Offering. 4 and a red for an instant.
Okay, so 4 and a red. It lets you destroy target non-basic land you don't control and target non-basic land of an opponent's choice you don't control. Volcanic Offering deals 7 damage to target creature you don't control and 7 damage to target creature of an opponent's choice you don't control. It's funny. This is the only offering I like. And the reason why is because this doesn't hurt you at all. Yeah, like this has no repercussion for you. None. It reminds me very much of Council's Judgment. Yes. Yeah. Because actually, it gets rid of multiple things that you don't control and potentially based on how the votes go. Yeah. So you stone rain somebody's land and then you give it to the person whose land just got stone rain and they stone rain somebody else's land and then you get to destroy 2 creatures. I mean, they may not necessarily be like the creatures that are going to benefit you the most by dying, but they're 2 creatures that aren't yours, which is the important part. Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, I want to give Volcanic Offering a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I think it's really good. Like blowing up a Nykthos is gonna be really good. Oh yeah, Cabal Coffers. I mean all that stuff. If it was just the top half, I wouldn't like this. But the fact that it also gets rid of 2 creatures also makes it worthwhile. And it's an instant, ladies and gentlemen. It's an instant. Yeah. I think 5 mana blow up 2 creatures and 2 lands. That's a
a 4 for 1.
Freaking-tastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 4 out of 5 is probably good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of red decks are going to be playing this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
All right.
So.
Moving on.
So, Warmonger's Hellkite. 4 and 2 red. Flying. All creatures. It's a 5/5, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. All creatures attack each combat if able, and then you can pay 1 in a red, and attacking creatures get +1/+0 until the end of turn. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a thumbs down. I don't like it.
Yeah. Its name is like the Moonveil Dragon effect from Innistrad block.
Yeah.
But in that you can buff your creatures, but it makes them like all creatures have to attack each turn. So what was that Avatar of Fury?
Yeah.
So that made all creatures.
Avatar of Slaughter.
Oh, Slaughter gives all creatures double strike, and Fury's the bad one.
Yeah. The really
real bad one. Even though that one's bad too. It's like the fact that it makes all creatures attack each combat if able. If you're attacking anyways, good for you. It just I like to have the illusion of playing defensive even in red.
Yeah. There are a lot of times where you're still just like waiting to draw into your engine for red, and attacking every turn just isn't really going to help you at all.
Yeah. I feel like if you're like in market for this kind of effect, I would still go with Avatar of Slaughter just because it's higher impact, gives your creatures double strike without paying extra mana. So
it gives their creature double strike too.
Yeah, but if your plan is to play it and win, I feel like that's what you want to do, and I feel like this card is just a worse version of that.
You can like potentially hurt your opponents if they decide to attack each other just by paying a red and making them deal a little bit of extra damage. But I don't think that is worth the trade-off. You're paying 6 for a 5/5. I'd rather have a Shivan Dragon, honestly. To be perfectly, really, at least I can control the Shivan Dragon. Like this guy.
Yeah,
get out of here.
I don't like this card at all. I feel like some people are going to try to play it, but I think they shouldn't. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 just because I could see people playing it in Gisela, and I feel like in Gisela, it would be very strong because they swing into your stuff, and then you can block, and you have a shield.
Okay,
and they don't.
2 out of 5 is probably right, just because
but
there are core cases where EDH is weird. It's hard to give things 1 out of 5 in EDH just because.
Yeah, there's so many decks that could use it. Like there's always something out there that could use it, and sometimes there aren't. Nobody's going to run a Hell Giant. Sorry, Hell Giant, you get a 1 out of 5. But
what about that giant tribal EDH deck? that no one plays
because it's bad. Yeah, the whole deck a 1 out of 5. Forget it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah,
so first, folks, the whole giant EDH deck 1 out of 5.
Yeah, 1 out of 5, y'all.
All right, moving on to green.
All right.
Everyone's favorite color in Commander.
Yeah, because it's so crazy.
Maybe blue, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, Creeper Hulk. 3 green for a plant elemental with trample. It's a 5/5 with 1 in a green. Target creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 to end of turn and gains trample end of turn. This is the new formatting where they have base power and toughness, so it just sets it.
Yeah.
Which is really great for people who don't understand layers.
Yeah, pretty legit. So, I think this card's bad.
Yeah, it's just.
I just think it's bad, and the reason why I think it's bad is because. The ability is very cheap. So you think to yourself, well, I could put that into token deck and I can target multiple creatures. Well, I guess you could.
Yeah.
But you're still spending a ton of mana, and you're not really anything can happen to those tokens between then and now.
Yeah.
And
I'd rather just go with Kamal.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. I'd rather go with Kamal, Fist of Croza. I'd rather go with Overrun. Or Spearbreaker even not Spearbreaker, excuse me. Craterhoof. Absolutely Craterhoof.
Craterhoof is just the 10 out of 5.
He's like the macho go-to guy.
Yeah, it's just if you're trying to trample over Craterhoof is your guy.
Yeah, he's the guy. So I don't think this is really that great, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 just because. There are times where you have a couple creatures out, you attack with a bunch of creatures.
It'll get you a little extra damage. It will do that. Absolutely.
And it makes the creatures your opponents block 5/5 so they don't die.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's a mana investment. It doesn't do anything the turn it enters unless you have a bunch of mana left over to make a couple 1/1s, 5/5s.
I'd rather have Ant Queen.
You'd rather have Ant Queen.
I would absolutely rather have Ant Queen.
I know. I just find that funny because Ant Queen isn't known for being the most high power magic card.
It's not, but I know that I'd rather pay 2 mana and get a blocker that could potentially attack and do something later.
Yeah.
Than being able to pay 1 mana and turn the 2 creatures I have into 5/5. Big whoop. Yeah. So what?
You'd rather have just an Anthem effect or an Overrun effect.
Yeah.
Beastmaster Ascension. I'd rather play that than this.
Yeah, it's not as immediate effect as the Creeper Hulk, true, but at least I know with a Beastmaster's Ascension, you're really going to get a lot more mileage out of it. It's going to cost you a lot less mana in the long run, and it's pretty easy to proc. I mean, it's not very demanding.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 out of 5 for sure.
Yeah, 2 out of 5. All right.
All right, so Freyalise.
Yeah, Freyalise, Llanowar's Fury.
Yeah, okay. So 3 and 2 green for Planeswalker Freyalise. Comes into play with 3 loyalty counters. Let's get on that +2. +2, put a 1/1 green elf druid into play with tap, add a green mana to your mana pool, so you get a lot more elf. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's good. I think that's really good. I mean,
it's effectively +2 make mana, just make a permanent mana source.
Yeah.
And the fact that if you're playing this in an elf deck or Seton, the druid deck, which I have, and it's really funny. Or just the fact that you have a 1/1 to sack to Skull Clamp or do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's specifically a 1/1 and it can add green mana, I mean, there's a lot of versatility with this, and I think it's really strong. It's a blocker, it protects Freyalise. I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah. And
then -2 just for Naturalize. -2 destroy an artifact.
It's okay. I mean, it's not mind blowing.
It's cool. Versatility. That's what it's for. It's so you can play her and interact with the board and do stuff.
And she does a very good job of doing that.
And she lives through it. So it's both her +2 and -2 are ways of generating card advantage.
Yeah, so I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and her -6 is draw a card for each green creature control. So her ultimate is Regal Force.
Yeah. So I mean,
it is -6, so it is like the easiest to reach. 2 turns after you play her, you can ultimate her.
Yeah, and she survives.
Yeah.
Like which seems to be the common thing with Planeswalkers. Of this cycle.
Yeah, the only one who can't is Teferi, I believe.
Damn shame.
Yeah,
but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah,
something tells me he'll be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an okay ability.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't really like abilities like that as an ultimate, but because of how small Freyalise is, I mean, her abilities are not very widely spread apart. There isn't a -2 and a +2 and then a -10.
Yeah.
So I like it. I mean, I think it fits the flavor pretty well.
Yeah, it's good flavor and it's versatile. She's probably the worst of the cycle, honestly.
I think so. She's still really good.
Yeah, she's
so
very
that we're
powerful.
clear.
Yeah.
But
just the fact that maybe playing with her will change that, but it's just a matter of Freyalise. The ultimate is just, it doesn't win you the game, and Regal Force is very good at helping you win the game. It just doesn't quite get you there.
No, not by itself.
And then your opponent, when you go to ultimate her, does a route, and you just cry.
Yeah, and then you're like, ugh, great. On the plus side, she does recover from board wipes faster than most decks.
Yeah,
so.
fair enough. But even in your deck or as your commander, she's going to be good. But a lot of times, I feel like Garruk Primal Hunter might be better for your deck. Because, I mean, if you're just trying to draw cards, you want Garruk Primal Hunter. If you're trying to make tokens, probably going to want Garruk.
Because he's a 3/3. Yeah. But, I mean, as a commander, Freyalise, you're top-notch. You're all right,
if you're
kid.
building
you're
around
right.
it, pretty cool. It's an elf deck. It's also just has a bunch of stuff going on. But, even, if not, I'm probably going to try her out in Seton.
You're going to run stuff like Parallel Lives. I mean, it's... Yeah, I mean, especially as a commander, she has a lot of potential.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Well, actually, she's obviously going to be 5 out of 5 just because, all these Planeswalkers are so high power level. They're going to be great commanders.
They are, absolutely. Every single one of them, honestly.
I'm not going to play any of, the Planeswalker commanders because I'm not a big fan of, that mechanic. But, you're definitely going to come across these, as being commanders. And even in decks, all of these guys are going to be really good.
Absolutely. It's going to be good.
All right, Grave Sifter, 5 and a green, Elemental Beast, 5/7. When Grave Sifter enters the battlefield, each player chooses a creature type and returns any number of cards of that type from his graveyard to his hand. So it's what is it? Praetors, not Praetors.
Creeping Renaissance.
It's Creeping Renaissance returns a permanent type, where this is creature type. So it's Patriarch's Bidding.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
But it doesn't return to play; it returns to hand, attached to a creature.
Don't like it.
I don't like it either. I kind of want to try it out in Seton, just because, if your elf deck or Seton is a true druid deck, you can get a lot of value off that if you're going with a theme. Of that.
Yeah.
And elves is very powerful, so it's just a matter of if you're playing this in an elf deck, just as a way to recover a lot of advantage when your opponents recover a little bit of advantage. I'm okay with that, especially as green is very good at generating a lot of mana. So it's still not generally very good. I'm not going to put this in Riku. I'm not going to put this in any deck that isn't trying to be tribal.
Absolutely. So I mean, it'll definitely work fantastic in decks like Horde of Notions. I mean, especially because it's an elemental itself.
Horde of Notions. I really like this card.
Yeah.
Except Horde of Notions casts things from your graveyard, so maybe not. But
but I mean,
it still gets a lot of.
I mean, in that situation, I think it'd be better to have it in your hand in the graveyard anyways. Because anything can happen to Horde of Notions. But if it's in your hand, then unless they mind shatter you.
Fair enough.
So, but
it's a number, so you could still leave targets for
exactly. If you want to use that Crypt swap, and then you want to keep that Crypt swap on deck, you can do that too. Yeah. I feel like I want to give this card a 3 out of 5, but I feel like it's closer to 2 out of 5 to be perfectly honest, just because of its limited applicability.
Yeah, I'm generally okay with giving limited applicability cards 3 out of 5, just because if it's very good in the deck. I feel like in an elf deck, if you play this, it's either going to stick or it's going to die, and you're going to get a lot of value. Yeah. And either way, I think you're pretty okay.
Yeah. So okay, I'll give that a 3 out of 5. That's fair. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Absolutely.
All right. Moving on to Lifeblood Hydra. Okay. X green for Hydra trample. Obviously, it's a Hydra, so it's enter with X 1/1 counters. Yep. And when it dies, you gain X life and draw X cards. So it is green Sphinx's Rev.
Yeah. So, I think that it's okay. I mean, it definitely reminds me of Palaka Worm.
Oh, okay.
I think that Palaka Worm is better, even though it always costs a strict 7. Actually, no. Wait, what am I talking about? No, this is way better than Palaka Worm. Don't listen to me. It's way better than Palaka Worm because you can play it for 2. It's still a 2/2, but you'll gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Palaka Worm will gain you a lot of life, but it'll really only net you 1 card. Yeah. And you can't ever pay less than 7 for it.
This could be like you pay even 4 into it just as a 1/1 dude. Yeah. And it's based on power, not 1/1 counters. So
things that buff it up, So I think that Lifeblood Hydra is good. I can think of a lot of green decks where I would not run it in. Yeah. Like, I don't think I would run this in Zagana, to be perfectly honest. Like,
yeah, and I also feel like, Zagana, because that's the only way to draw cards already, but, like, say you're, like, in a green-red deck. Yeah. Like, I could see playing this as just another way of drawing a lot of cards. Yeah. Like, I would run this... Or green-black. Like, imagine playing this in, like, Gerard.
Oh, my God, yes. That'd be amazing.
It's not really a good reanimator target, but just... Being able to sacrifice it to an Agent of Bolas.
Yeah. So you just gain 8 life and you draw 8. Like you pay 4 into it, you draw 8, gain 8. It's good. Yeah. I'll say I give it a 3 out of 5. I give it
3 out of 5. Like there's gonna be decks that want it, and even if you even just playing it as a Hydra because people love their Hydras. Yep. Just playing it as just a big guy is pretty good. Yeah. Sometimes it's not gonna do anything, but like 3 out of 5, I feel like the times it does things are gonna be sufficient enough. Yeah. To warrant it.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm really excited for this card. So Siege Behemoth. Okay. So 5 and 2 green for a 7/4 hexproof. As long as the Siege Behemoth is attacking, for each creature you control, you may have that creature assign combat damage as though it were not blocked. So we're looking at a global Thorn Elemental here. I think this card is absolutely amazing. Especially for green. You can't just like path to exile it or anything like that. You actually have to like beat it in combat. Yeah. And if you're trying to beat it in combat, you're already taking a lot of damage because he's just going to assign it all to you anyways. Yeah. I think it's a really good card. I think it's a very good card. Yeah. I think most green decks should. I think most green decks should run this card. Yeah.
It's a unique like overrun style effect because it's there to like push through a lot of damage. But what makes this unique is that as opposed to overrun, you could just have a couple big creatures. Yeah. And it's a lot, and it's still very efficient. Mm-hmm. Like, that being said, like, I still think, like, Creator as a card is better.
I agree.
But I agree. This card does something turn after turn, is hexproof. It has 4 toughness for 7 mana, which means in combat, it's probably going to die, but if you can attack once or twice with this card, you're probably going to be...
And they're still going to take the 7 damage from it. Or you can choose to kill the creature it's blocking if it's valuable enough to you. I mean, you have a lot of options with that, too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could see this playing in Zagana.
Yeah.
I could see this...
I mean, I could see it in Zagana, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and give it... I feel like I should still give it a 3 out of 5, though.
Yeah, 3 out of 5.
Because 7 is still kind of steep for that ability.
Is pretty doesn't do anything if the turn enters, even though it has hexproof. But it's still a lot of board wipes.
Yeah, but it's still strictly better than Thorn Elemental. Yeah. Just so we're clear.
And he has to attack. So
So you can't just sit back and let him do all the work. Yeah. But I mean, I'll give him a 3 out of 5. Absolutely. I think a lot of green decks can use it.
Yeah. All right. Then there's other decks that don't really want it, like because green is also very good for like comboing and stuff like that.
Absolutely, that's true.
So 3 out of 5 seems to be right for that guy.
Yeah.
All right, and here's something that I'm kind of excited for. Mark Rosewater Lessor because it's terrible flavor, but Song of the Dryads. 2 and a green. Enchant Aura, Enchant Permanent. Enchant Permanent is a colorless forest land. So it's unconditional removal pretty much in green.
So I'll be honest with you. A lot of you might think I'm bad, but I wasn't initially sold on this. So we were talking about this actually before we started. And at first I didn't like it because I feel like cards that are enchant aura and conditionally get rid of something, things like O-Ring, are problematic because they don't solve the problem permanently. But I also have to remember that in green, there aren't a lot of ways to solve every problem permanently, and this one gets as close to solving a problem permanently as possible without actually doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm still okay with that because it only costs 3 and you can get rid of anything.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, that Trouble Commander, it's now a forced.
Yeah.
It's broccoli.
And then the best part about it is the problem that I didn't like with a lot of cards that gave sort of like pseudo pacify effects was that they were still a card type that was relatively easy to get rid of. So if you were trying to get rid of something and reanimate it, you could do that pretty easily. That's a lot harder with Song of the Dryads because you either need specifically enchantment removal or you need land destruction. Which is even harder to combine in this format. Back. Yeah, so I mean, it's a great way to pacify commanders.
Yeah, it's great dealing with commanders, and even if it's not, it's a way for green to have another tool that gets rid of Darksteel Forge.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, it just sometimes Darksteel Forge, when you're mono green, you're like, you have the beast within hand, it's like, this is worthless.
Yeah.
And this is a way that you have a similar card that gets rid of things that are indestructible. It solves Avacyn, it solves a whole bunch of problems. It solves Tajic, it solves...
Yeah, it solves... I mean...
Yeah, it solves anything you want. And worst case scenario, if you're just in a really bad state, you need a land... You enchant like your Lightning Greaves and make it a forest. Yeah. No one wants to do it, but
sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. All right, so I did a complete turnabout before we had this discussion about Song of the Dryads. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
I think that it's premium removal in green. I think that this card for green decks, I mean, I think it's going to be in just about every green deck that can't really run real removal. Like this is this is the closest thing that they're going to get to it, other than Beast Within, which is still very good.
Yeah.
But Song of the Dryads, freaking amazing. I can't say anything more about it. It's great. Yeah. It's awesome.
All right, moving on to Sylvan Offering. X and a green for a sorcery. Choose an opponent. You and that player each get an XX green treefolk creature token in the battlefield. And choose an opponent. You and that player each put X11 green elf warrior creature tokens on the battlefield.
Well, for those who are listening, I think you already know what I'm going to say about this. So it's bad. I don't like it. It's bad. It's sorcery. No.
It's a mana sink, and it's just... Even though green likes its idiots, I don't like these idiots.
Not at all. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 1 out of 5. I don't think anybody should run this.
Yeah.
I mean, even in a token deck, the whole point of token decks is that you have more creatures than your opponent, and you're giving an opponent the same amount of creatures you're getting, which doesn't seem like a fair shake if you're a token deck.
Yeah. Even though you divide them up, so like you give one person the big token and one person the little tokens. You attack the person with the big tokens with all the little ones, and you attack the person with all the little ones with the big one.
Yeah,
it's still not as good. You're banking you be able to use them the most when it's not always the case.
Yeah.
But there are times where like I feel like you can get away with this, but it's not as good as the red tempting offer that gave you tokens, because that one gave you double the tokens. As any other, like someone gets 10 tokens, you get 20 tokens.
And that's a really, really huge advantage. That's a game-winning advantage.
This doesn't really stack up to it.
No.
I'm not going to give it 1 out of 5 just because like I can see times where like this will do some quantity of work.
Yeah.
I don't feel like if I cast this, I would be absolutely embarrassed 100% of the time. I'm going to give it 2 out of 5.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. There are a lot of situations where I feel like this card will be very, very underwhelming, and it'll be like, well, why did I put this into the deck? I know there are some commanders I know wow, I keep blanking on his name. The token guy, he's
Gabe?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Guru of Spores. Like, he can definitely put this to use a lot better than most decks can.
Yeah, but even then, like, you don't want to do a X on that just because, like, you want to use your mana to interact with the tokens.
Exactly, and if you're tapping out, then you can't interact with the tokens that turn.
I like this deck more in, like, a green deck that has overrun things. Like, say you're playing Azuri.
Yeah.
Azuri, you get... The good thing to note about this card is it doesn't make sapling tokens. It makes elf tokens.
So that is really relevant.
Yeah, because if you're playing an elf deck... You can have all sorts of lords. You can have Azuri. You can have just so many ways of getting a lot more value.
Which I mean, there's a little bit of synergy that we had with Freyalius. So I mean, you can definitely do something with that. But yeah, I'm still gonna stick with 2 out of 5 on this one.
Yeah, 2 out of 5. Like it's probably gonna be really good in an elf deck, but it's probably not gonna be the best card in an elf deck. You're probably gonna play it in an elf tribal deck, but it's sometimes you're not gonna be too thrilled about it.
Not at all.
All right, Thunderfoot Bailiff. 4 green for a 5/5 trample with Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Thunderfoot Bailiff gets +2/+2, and other creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample.
You better not give this card anything less than a 4 out of 5.
It's a 4 out of 5.
I would say, because this card, so it's good in tokens, it's good in not tokens. It's It's a solid body with trample.
Consistent overrun effect. It's that stays.
Like what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
And it gives them all trample.
This for me is bordering on being 5 out of 5.
It's very close. I feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that it's just it's so on the edge that I just feel like it could be, but it still asks you to play a lot of creatures.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily ask you to play a lot of creatures because you play like a 4/4. It
becomes a 6/6.
It becomes a 6/6 trample, and then you have a 6/6.
Yeah,
so suddenly you go from 5 to 13 power.
Yeah, then there's times you get blown in combat though, where they blow up your commander or this guy.
And then suddenly you lose 15 power on board.
Yeah, and that you were counting on for your map.
Yeah, so that's what's keeping it from being a 5 out of 5. But I'm going to stick with 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 seems right for this.
Yeah.
Just because it's very powerful. The times that you're going to play this and win shortly after. Sometimes it's analog for Crater Hoof.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. Because Crater Hoof can die and you still get all the bonus. Whereas this dies, you don't. But Crater Hoof effect goes away after turn, this stays. As long as you have your commander. But I think this is...
So you have to play around with it a little bit because otherwise you risk overextending yourself and costing yourself the game. But it definitely...
Yeah,
absolutely.
You don't want to put all your eggs in the basket with this guy. But 4 out of 5 is definitely where this guy needs to be.
Yeah.
All right.
So Titania, Priest of Argoth. Protector. 3 and 2 green for a 5/3. When it enters the battlefield, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever a land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 5/3 green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. I think that there are some decks that can really, really combo hard with this card.
Yeah. And this is very much build around me sort of commander.
Yeah.
And there's some decks that interact with lands.
Yeah.
A lot. I have a Barbary most of the Enraged deck. It's all about playing lands, sacrificing lands, that sort of thing. So this card seems good in that. In your average green commander deck, not very good.
Yeah.
But if you're building around this, it can be really cool and interesting. You have Crucible of Worlds, Wasteland, Ghost Quarter,
Escape Shift. I mean,
Escape Shift definitely.
You can do some really, really interesting interactions with this. You can definitely see some cool stuff come out from this.
Yeah. The sad thing is though that it is pretty narrow, so it's a matter of it's just good as a commander a lot of times. 9 out of 10 green decks can't really see using this at all.
Yeah.
So this is probably the lowest score of any of this cycle for me. It's probably gonna be 3 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean I agree. I feel as a general it's a lot stronger because you can run things like Wasteland, Tech Edge.
Yeah. You can you can build the whole
Strip
deck
Mine.
out.
Yeah.
Titania.
And that it would be really awesome. You play it on turn 5. Oh, actually no, you can't get the trigger and return because you have to target it.
Yeah.
But you still get cool stuff. You can still Stone Rain somebody and then return to the battlefield and then Stone Rain somebody again and get a 5/3. I mean that's really good.
Yeah.
So I mean a 3 out of 5 because it doesn't have a whole lot of applicability, but it has a lot of power if you can build around it correctly.
Yeah. Right. And now we have Wave of Vitriol. 5 green for sorcery. Each player sacrifices all artifacts, enchantments, and non-basic lands he or she controls. For each land card sacrificed this way, its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle.
I mean, I'm on the fence about this.
Yeah. I had to think very long about this card because it's 7 mana, it blows up a lot. And the thing is, what really sold me on this card is not just the fact that it doesn't say destroy, it says sacrifice.
Which means it gets rid of indestructible,
yeah.
Gets rid of all that Darksteel garbage.
Yeah.
Gets rid of all of it.
It's Green's way of really saying no to the artifact decks.
And
there's 5 color god decks. Sacrifice all your gods.
Yeah, sacrifice all your gods. Get totally hose their land base. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like I need to give this card a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna give it 4 out of 5 just because I see a lot of green decks that would want this, and even to me, it's almost unfair. It's Sylvan Primordial almost.
Oh man, that's the no word.
Yeah, it's not quite Sylvan Primordial because it's not a creature. It's not doing just what you want because it blows up your stuff too.
Yeah,
but it's the fact that in 5 or 3 color decks, sometimes they might not even be able to get all of their lands back. Yeah, and be able to blow up all artifacts and enchantments if you're playing around your own card, which you probably should be doing. It just seems like this can be such a blowout for everyone else on the table. especially if you're in like a green deck or like a green-red deck.
And there's so many multicolor decks that are just like flying around these days, especially. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I'm not prepared to give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I think 3 out of 5 might be right, but I'm scared of this card.
I see where you're getting that extra one though. So yeah, I mean, I'll stick with 3 out of 5, but I definitely think I am excited to see how often this is going to see play. Like I think you're right. I think it is going to end up seeing a lot of play.
All right. So you're going 3 out of 5. I'm going 4 out of 5, and all right, we're at Wolf Colors Howl.
All right, bottom of the barrel for colors. So at the beginning of your upkeep is the 3 and 1 green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put X/2/2 wolf creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the number of your opponents with 4 or more cards in hand. I don't think it's good.
It's dependent on your opponents having a lot of things in hand, and the reward for it that you get during your upkeep
is a 2/2.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. My opponents have overwhelming card advantage, and I get a 2/2.
That's surprising.
Does the 2/2 have haste?
Nope.
First strike?
Nope.
Vigilance?
No, it's a wolf.
It's a wolf.
It's kind of cute.
I can't remember. Do wolves have double strike and flying and protection?
No. It's just a wolf.
So I get nothing. Really, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Nothing that will help me surmount the fact that my opponents are getting way too much card advantage.
Yeah, it's slow. It's dependent on your opponents, and it doesn't even give you that much bonus. And it's like 4 mana, even though it's not a lot. It's too much for this. If there's just 1, I might be able to go. Okay, it's a turn 1 play. Still don't play it.
Well, if it was turn 1, I'd play it.
Okay.
I'd play on turn 1. Absolutely.
I'd be more likely to play it.
Like turn 1 wolf.
Oh, okay. Because you can be sure to get like 3 wolves. I
could play it on turn 2. Turn 2, I'd play it.
Yeah.
This no.
But that's not the case because it costs 4. I'm gonna go 1 out of 5.
I'm gonna go 1 out of 5 too. I don't think even decks that are like token oriented should not run this.
Yeah. It depends on too many things, and the reward is not
very minimal. All right. So now we're gonna move on to the lands. So the first one we got at the top is Arcane Lighthouse. It's just a land. It taps, adds a colorless to your mana pool, and you can pay 1, tap it, and until end of turn, creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and shroud, and can't gain hexproof or shroud.
That glaring spotlight.
Yeah, glaring spotlight on a land. I mean, as it should be, honestly.
Yeah,
because
and you don't have to sacrifice it. Just they lose it, and it's only opponents, so you still protect your things. And this is gonna be a staple. Like this is.
I think it is. I don't think it'll fit in every deck because there are some decks that colorways are just too demanding to run it. Like I don't think I could run this in Carador, just because like I don't think.
Okay, I can see that.
Like
hexproof isn't really a problem for Carador.
No, not with the amount of board wipe that's running around in those colors. But I think like in a 2-color deck like in Zagana, like I can I could see that
having a colorless land that enters untapped.
Yeah,
with a very relevant bonus. Like people play Homeward Path, and this is similar in terms of like utility.
Yeah.
It lets you deal with Ural. It lets you deal with all kinds of problematic commanders. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna give this 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that one because
it's so many decks can play it, and so many decks should play it.
Yeah,
and there's like no opportunity cost. There's like, what are you not gonna play here? You're not gonna play like a comes to play tap land. It's just like, okay, your mana is slightly worse, but you have this ability that probably will be relevant, even if it's not. It's not much of a cost.
No, you're right. I agree. Like, it's not really a fallback for playing that. I mean, just run it. Run it.
Next, we have Flamekin Village. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal an elemental card from your hand. If you don't, it enters untapped. You can add red to your mana pool, or pay a red and tap it. Target creature gains haste in a turn.
No.
Yeah, it's like Slayer's Stronghold.
Yeah, except worse.
Yeah,
much worse, actually.
I actually am not super sure how I feel about this card.
Like,
it's one of those cards that just giving a creature haste isn't the most relevant thing all the time, but a lot of red decks do want to just be able to give a creature haste now and again, and it's still not a super high cost.
It's not a super high cost, but I feel like red is already running a lot of relevant cards that can give haste.
Okay.
Like, because I mean, even for something like this, we got a Chroma's Memorial.
Yeah.
We got Ogre Battle Driver. Yeah. We've got any number of insert Goblin cards here. Yeah. I mean, I think a land that can do that is cool.
Yeah, that's thing where like, there's a lot of options for it, but they're all spells. This is a land card that is very low cost to run that gives you a very relevant ability. And like,
I think I don't know. I think it's a bit higher cost than you're giving it credit for. I mean, it's a red land that comes into play tapped.
It doesn't always come into play tapped though. Like I mean, obviously, like a lot of times you're not gonna have an elemental, but it doesn't necessarily come in tapped.
Yeah.
Let's just assume it enters in tapped.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair.
So you don't like get the mana right away, but the fact that in the late game it gives you more advantage.
Okay, all right. So
it's a red card that helps late game, which is where red normally struggles. It's a land card that gives advantage. It's definitely not 5 out of 5. I'll give it 3 out of 5 because not all red decks want it. Not all red decks have a slot for it.
But I think that in the red decks, I think I agree with you. It will perform in the decks that they can't fight slots for it. It will perform.
Yeah,
it'll perform.
Yeah. All right. So 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And
okay, so Myriad Landscape. Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield tapped, unfortunately, but you tap it, add 1 colorless to your mana pool, or you can pay to sacrifice it. Did I say it twice? Pay to tap and sacrifice it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them onto the battlefield tap. Then shuffle your library. I think
Garnish Heart's a land now.
Yeah, I think that I want to give this land a 5 out of 5. To be perfectly honest, like I really do because
I want to too. There's a couple things that make me slightly hesitant to it. The fact that it enters in tapped is definitely a drawback.
Yeah, I mean,
and the fact that you had to share a type, so you can't like
you can't fix.
Yeah, you can't fix as well. But like in the monocolor decks, in like mono white, mono red, it's mana ramp.
I mean, even in 2-color decks, like it's very strong. I mean, a lot of people who've seen this probably think Terminal Moraine. Those Terminal Moraine didn't enter tapped.
Okay. But you just got 1 land off that, correct?
You got 1 land off of it. Yeah. But this is, I mean, even with the tap, I think this is better than Terminal. Because I mean, even if you're not prepared to sacrifice it right now, or like you're waiting to draw something, like you can wait. I mean, it floats mana. It doesn't tether you to this. You have to pay 2 right now, or otherwise you're wasting turns. You just wait.
Yeah.
I mean,
and a lot of times, like you play this turn 1 if you don't have like a 1-drop, which is quite common. And then a couple turns you have extra mana, and you don't really care. And it's a great turn 1 or 2 play. Yeah. And even if you top tick at late game, you can still cash in for land. So I'm actually going to give it 5 out of 5. I'm going to put this all in my monocolor decks, and even some of my 2-color decks.
I mean, so it's definitely strong. So I give it a 5 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, I'm creeping towards 4 out of 5, but I mean,
it does have drawbacks, but
a land that turns into 2 lands.
Unless you're mono green, you're gonna probably want to have this in your monocolor deck.
I mean, it gets you from turn 3 to 5 just like that. Like that's I like it.
Yeah. All right, artifacts.
All right, so Assault Suit. It's an equipment for 4, and it has equip 3. Equipped creature has +2/+2, has haste, and can't attack you or a planeswalker you control, and it cannot be sacrificed. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may have that player gain control of equipped creature until end of turn. If you do, untap it. I don't really like this that much. It tries to mitigate the fact that you're giving it to opponents by saying it can't be it can't attack you and it can't be sacrificed. But they can attack into anything, and then you suddenly lose a creature. You get -1, and then you get nothing really for your troubles.
Yeah, and it's one of those group like politics kind of cards where like you're trying to team up with someone to take on an opponent, and it's kind of a clunky way of going about it because like I'd rather like let someone draw 3 cards than give them like my best creature or even my second best creature. Yeah. Because it's just a matter of like this is something I've invested mana into, and I want this to be good. Like I don't know what you want to put this on. You don't want to put this on your best creature. You don't want to put it on your worst creature.
Because then it won't help anybody, and then it'll hurt. I mean, even you give them the best creature, then they do something and they destroy it, you lose your best creature. Yeah. So I mean, I can't think of a card deck that I would run this in. Yeah. I really can't. So I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 1 out of 5 too. It's like, okay, maybe in like some like equipment based decks, maybe like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you have like a Kemba deck and you just want to.
Yeah, Cow Region. Yeah, sure. I guess. I mean, give him a cat, make him do something with it.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, moving on to Commander Spheres. 3 for an artifact. Tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and sacrifice a draw card.
4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
I mean, it's colorless. You run it in any deck.
Yeah. It's a good clue stone.
It's the best clue stone. Yeah. You don't have to pay any mana. You don't even have to tap it to draw a card. You can pay. You can play it. Next turn, you spend the mana, turn 5 or whatever. You power out a 6/6, and then you sacrifice to draw a card because you need the extra card in hand. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
like a Lotus Petal. It's like a Lotus Petal that draws a card.
Well,
I mean, it's not quite that good, but
because, I would like to pay a 0 mana artifact that draws me a card and gives me mana.
That'd be amazing. Oh yeah.
But just I want to live the dream of this card where I have no mana available except for this. Tap it, float a white, sacrifice it, draw path, exile creature.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah. So 5. I think it's 5 out of 5. Yeah.
I'm still going with.
I know 4 to. I mean, because
I'm going with 5 out of 5 because this is probably going to be outside of Chromatic Land. It's probably going to be my mana rock of go-to. No more Dark Steel Ingot. This is
this is better than Dark Steel Ingot.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you just need your mana to stick.
Yeah.
But this is going to give you you just sacrifice it and you can just draw a land.
It's 3 colorless mana. Cycle it.
It's great. And it's good early game. It's still useful late game.
Yeah.
Which cannot be said for Dark Steel Ingot because sometimes you just don't need another mana rock.
Yeah.
But so
it's a fixed clue stone. That's all I gotta say about it.
Yeah. So I like it. 5 out of 5.
Right.
Okay. So Crown of Doom. It's an artifact for 3. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets +2/+0. You pay 2, and then you can donate it. You can give it to another player, but you can only activate this ability on your turn. So you can pay 2. Target player other than you gains control. Other than the owner, excuse me. So nobody can ever give it back to you.
Okay.
So thoughts?
The fact that it never goes back to you makes me like it a bit more. That being said, it is still kind of narrow, and the fact that I don't know what to think of it, honestly. It's good for a Zedger deck.
That's what I was thinking too. I would love to run that in Zedger. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, but it's still I feel like there's cards that do similar things better. There's cards like the curses that make it so a player that you really want to be hurt gets extra damage dealt to them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just there's times where you won't be able to hurt the person you want, and someone that you maybe want to work with can't actually benefit from it, and they end up dying because of your card, and you end up dying shortly after because the person who's far ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I give this card 2 out of 5.
Yeah, 2 out of 5.
I think that there's some decks I'm sure that there's some decks that could use it. I just imagine the nightmare scenario where I play it and then I donate it to somebody and I'm getting ready to attack them. And they're like, well, I declare attack step. They pay 2, give it to somebody, and then they pay 2 and give it to somebody else you really don't want it to have. And then you're like, well, that was my plan. And then
it's only during their turn.
Their turn. Okay, so
it's
it does let you plan. It
lets you play around it because they can't just in response to you attack move into attackers change it, even though it's a trigger whenever a creature attacks. It gets
on second thought, I think I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5 because I can see myself running this in Derevi.
Oh, okay.
I feel like if I playing it in a token deck, I feel like it's really strong.
Yeah. Keep in mind that you still have to donate it to someone, so it's a 5 mana investment.
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean it's colorless, but I feel for 5 mana, I'd rather just play Dictate of Heliod and just give your creatures +2/+2 all the time.
Yeah, you're right. And it has flash, which means it's a combat trick.
And that sort of thing where it's there's cards that do this ability better, maybe not in all colors, but I feel there's just too many cards that are just better than this card. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to hurt someone, this isn't the best way to do it because they can move it around. Yeah. It's really good if you're hurting someone.
And it's difficult. It's difficult for you to be able to focus on that.
Yeah. If the last non-active player, the person immediately to your right, if you want to hurt them, they're the last person to get a turn, so it's going to hurt them the most. But that's so situational. I'm gonna go 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna slide it back to 2 out of 5. You're right. That's a good point.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's a 1 out of 5 even, but I'm just
I think it has some uses.
Yeah, it's it can technically be useful sometimes. So I'm gonna go with 2 out of 5. All right. I actually really like this card. Lore Seeker's Stone, 6 mana artifact, 3 and tap, draw 3 cards. This ability costs 1 more to activate per card you have in hand.
I like it because you can run it in any deck, which means it's specifically designed for decks that in colors that can't really draw cards that well.
Like red, like white.
Yeah, so I think that paying 3 mana for 3 cards is really really reasonable.
Yeah, better than Tower of Fortunes.
Yeah, actually, I agree.
But then there's times where like you just have a couple like dead land in hand that you're just like you've just top deck land after land and you just have a stockpile of dead cards and this costs 6 and you're drawing 3 cards. It's still not bad, and I really like this card.
It really isn't, and you don't have to sacrifice anything for it.
Yeah.
You're not losing a permanent. You just I like it.
Yeah, and even just like even if you like, you know what, I have 7 cards in hand, but I just really want cards. End of your turn, I'm gonna pay 10 mana, draw 3 cards.
Why not?
In white, you just don't get to do that. You don't get that kind of offense.
No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah. That being said, I'm not sure if it is just better than Tower of Fortunes because 8 mana solid for 4 cards can sometimes be better. But I'm really excited to try this card out. I'm gonna give this.
I feel like I need to get. I feel like I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
I'm actually tempted to give it. I'm probably gonna give it 4 out of 5. I was almost gonna give it 5 out of 5, but I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5.
I would say 5 out of 5 now.
Yeah,
that's a bit much.
Okay, like as someone who has like a mono white deck, mono red deck,
okay.
It's like the times where I'm just like I cannot cast spells.
Yeah.
Like I just keep drawing lands. I just can't do anything. This is like so good for like 8.5. So good for slow bad, even though it's artifact based. Just giving another thing lets me draw cards, and I really like that.
Okay, yeah, all right. So 3 out of 5 for me, 4 out of 5 for you.
Yep.
All right. So Masterwork of Ingenuity. It's an artifact equipment for 1. You may have Masterwork of Ingenuity enter the battlefield as a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. Absolutely, yes, please. Yes. May I have some more? This is a really, really good card. I like copying a Sword of Feast and Famine, copying Loxodon Warhammer.
Copying anything. Like, if you have a target for this, is good. That's why it's really, like, you're going to be playing this if you yourself run a good bit of equipment. Yeah. Don't just be like, well, I'm playing this, so I don't have to play equipment.
No, that you need to play equipment because of this card.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times it's going to be similar to Sculpting Seal. It's a narrower Sculpting Seal, but you should be playing that anyways in a lot of decks. Yep. So it's just a second one of those, and it's 1 mana, and it itself is equipment, so you can tutor for it with like
with Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, or like Steel Shaper's Gift. Like there's multiple ways for you to get this card out of your deck, and you can use Nahiri to get it out of your graveyard.
It's really really good. So
it's very versatile.
And ladies and gentlemen, if I haven't said it enough times, Sun Titan. If I haven't said it enough times, Sun Titan, ladies and gentlemen. You
can never say Sun Titan.
You really can't.
It's like it makes it so you can Sun Titan Battle Skull. A lot of the equipment targets you can also Battle Skull, like the swords, which one of my favorite things to do. But it's still like it's really good all around. It's not perfect. There's plenty of boards that don't have equipment on it, so like I can't give it.
I can't really give it. I can give it a 4 out of 5. I think giving it a 4 out of 5 is perfectly reasonable. It's very powerful. It can't fit in every deck, but it's good.
I'm probably gonna go 3 out of 5 just because I don't like the fact that I could draw this card and have it do nothing.
Like literally nothing.
Times.
Yeah.
But like the times it works probably gonna be greater than the times it's not. Yeah. In like a reasonable deck. So, like, 4 out of 5 is definitely reasonable. I'm still going to stick with 3 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. I've just always been a sucker for clone effects, especially, like, clone effects that do more than just clone creatures. Yeah. Amazing.
It's just versatility.
All right. So, here we are at the bottom of the barrel, and speaking of Sun Titan, ladies and gentlemen, Unstable Obelisk, 3 colorless for an artifact. Tap, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Pay 7, sacrifice it. Destroy target permanent. I think that this is very good.
Yeah. It's another colorless way for certain decks to deal with certain permanents. Like, play this in black.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's not just it's just a rock that sits there until you pay 7. Like, it can float mana. It can help you get you to your strong, more expensive cards later in the game. It's really good. I mean.
Like the 7 is definitely a good investment, but so is Spine of Saw, and
then the Spine of Saw
is better than this in some ways because you can get it back. Yeah. But the fact that this is a mana rock that like you can still Sun Titan it, you can still get it back through other ways. So it's different than Spine of Saw. It's not as good.
I don't think so, but to be perfectly honest, I'm running Spine of Saw in Erebos, and I think that this is going to replace Spine of Saw.
I could definitely say that because like you want something that makes mana because you're running Erebos, you want to be able to draw more cards.
Absolutely.
But I can see in a lot of decks like that
it's slow bad. It won't replace anything in slow bad.
Yeah, because Spine Saw, you can sacrifice a bounce to do all kinds of things.
I know. It did definitely a ton of shenanigans you can do.
But if you're playing Sun Titan in the deck, I could see playing this. If you're playing any way of like reanimate, like if you're playing like Shroom, I could see playing this. You're probably gonna still prefer Spine Saw, but if you just want a second effect, I feel like most times Spine Saw is gonna be your first pick. But
Absolutely.
If you just want a second similar effect, this is probably going to be...
Yeah, it'll be definitely a close
take
second.
That brittle effigy.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and give this... I feel like I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Yeah. Because, I mean, I thought it was 3. I feel... I'm going to say 3. I'm going to say 3.
3 out of 5 for me, just because, like, it doesn't just replace Spine Saw. There's a good argument for this over Spine Saw in that, like, you can have it sit there and have it be instant speed.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just the threat of it. But there's also, like, if you can't, like, you play it and you don't get your mana up to it and it goes away, you lose it.
Yeah.
But it's...
And it doesn't come back like Spine Saw. So there's the other thing.
Yeah. But, like, this is definitely very good. Like, this deserves to see play. I am excited to try this out in some decks, so I'm definitely going to say 3 out of 5 for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, with our review of Unstable Obelisk, that brings us to the end of our Commander 2014 spoilers.
So, what's your favorite card?
Favorite card? My favorite card is the there's some it has to be Teferi. Like, to be I'll be honest, like when I was a newer player, what was it, about 7 years ago? No, 9 years ago. So when I first started getting into Magic, I actually was lucky enough to play through the whole Gilpack Round Deck of Dissension, and I was lucky to play through the Time Spiral block too. And Teferi was one of my favorite cards. Like, the fact that he could just like come in and just like put a halt to any shenanigans that people are trying to do. Like, I thought like he was like one of my favorite cards, up there with the Chroma actually. So when I started learning about the story and realized that he would never be revealed as a Planeswalker, it was kind of a bummer. So when they flashed me this, I mean, I thought it was amazing. Like, like my dreams come true in a card. Like, definitely my favorite card in this set, hands down. How about you?
Like
I think I have an idea.
Yeah, a little bit earlier. But Duretti's Scrap Savant. He's as close as I'm ever gonna get to Slowbot, for similar reasons. But I just love Slowbot in the story. If you've never read like the Meriden story, go read it. Slowbot's a really awesome guy. He's like the other side of Red, who's creative and emotional, and just the fact that he's very nonviolent. He was kicked out by other goblins because he was too artistic. He wanted to make things, not blow things up.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's just a really cool guy, and just the fact that he's a very relevant Planeswalker for my slow bad deck, and he does a lot of work, and I think he's just super powerful, and I'm excited to play with him.
Yeah. So, I mean, I gotta say, like, I can't wait to pick this up. I'm really looking forward to it. And I really can't wait to get my hands on Teferi. I don't know whether I'm going to throw him to a commander or whether make him the commander himself, but I really just can't wait to just slap him on
just
board.
Playing around with him. Just seems really good.
Oh yeah.
All right. So just maybe let us know what your favorite card in the set was, and just because we're releasing this podcast as a way of starting a discussion on Commander, because like it's hard to say cards are just good and just bad. We're having a difficulty rating cards because like, what someone sees is really good, someone says, in this one deck I have, it is the best card.
Absolutely.
And that's what's so cool. Like, I want to find all of the neat little tricks people have.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, let us know. Like, what do you think about this? I mean, we know that we're not going to have any authoritative understanding of this by any stretch of the imagination. We're players just like you. We're trying stuff out, figuring out what works, what doesn't. And what we've just said here is just what we like. I mean, what we think about these cards. Like, I mean, a lot of these cards are good. I mean, maybe some of these cards that we thought were excellent, I mean, you think they're terrible. I mean, let us know. Why?
Yeah. All right, and that brings us to a close. I've been Bill Hess, and he's been
Trayvon Brock, and thank you for tuning in to the Cryptic Commanders.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Cryptic Commanders, a podcast about, you guessed it, Commander. A lot of people